on? I don't see a countdown. Oh, there it goes.
This is Music Relish Podcast.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Well, here we are once again. Music Relish Podcast, episode number 24, with me, Perry, Lou Colicchio, and Mark Smith. How you guys doing?
Hello. Hello to my brothers in broadcasting.
Lou's on the midnight shift here. Good evening.
My comrades in communication, my brothers in broadcasting.
And I'm on the AM shift, and I want to say congratulations to Argentina. Lionel Messi has finally brought the cup home to his country. He deserved it.
The big soccer match, right?
Yeah.
World Cup.
FIFA.
Yeah.
That's a four-letter word.
Tonight we're going to talk about Tonight, guys, we're going to talk about a great drummer. Lou's going to give a little explanation about that. We're going to have a short history on vinyl records. There's some random subjects, maybe a one-hit wonder, a little bit of trivia. Mark will do his album reveal, and then we'll say goodnight.
Isn't there an album review also?
Album reveal. An album review also. It's the what was the record by Rush? It was called Presto, right?
Presto, as Lou says.
Presto Changeo. Yep.
I like Presto on my garlic bread.
So, Lou, do you want to give a little lead into Dino Danelli?
Sure. Dino
Sound
Danelli.
Bummed out, man.
I am bummed out. You know, a hero has passed away. Another drum hero. In the last several years, you know, there's been quite a few. You know, Charlie Watts, Neil Peart, Dino Danelli. I think Dino Danelli is the least known of most of them. He was a drummer for the legendary, I'd say, 60s white soul rock garage punk band, pioneering, amazing band, the Rascals, hit machine, the Rascals.
Yep.
Dino Danelli was the powerhouse drummer that drove that soul train, you know, amazing. A huge influence on me and a lot of drummers in New Jersey. If you're of a certain age, of course you love the Rascals. How could you be a self-respecting Jersey boy, much less an Italian Jersey boy, and not dig the Rascals? I just love them. They were great.
Yeah. Atlantic Records. Big label, yeah.
Yeah. They've been called, I mean, I'm going to say they've been called the blackest white soul band ever.
Really?
When Steven Van Zandt inducted them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's a great clip. He said, you know, besides rattling the Hall of Fame and saying, what took you so long to do this, you know?
Yeah.
He said, no one could sound that black without being Italian. So, you know, he threw it out there, you know, but they were
That's
two
what
Jersey
Steve
boys.
Van Zandt said?
That's what Stephen, quote unquote. The Rascals were Dino Danelli on drums, Felix Cavalieri on organ and vocals, Eddie Brigatti on vocals and percussion, and Gene Cornish on guitar and vocals. Dino Danelli, the drummer, and Eddie Brigatti, he was also a lead vocalist. We're from New Jersey. Eddie Brigatti is from your hometown of Garfield, New Jersey, Perry.
Oh, really? Really? Yep.
Exactly. And as a side note, Eddie Brigatti's uncle, Phil Pinto, worked for my father as a skating instructor at our roller rink in Montville, New Jersey. So I was privileged enough at a young age to have Eddie Brigatti come out and come see me and my brother's band and give us a little bit of a critique. And to come from a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee and Songwriter Hall of Fame inductee, that was a high honor, and it was much appreciated. But the guy behind that seat, the man on that throne, was Dino Danelli. I mean, you've seen this video, guys. The guy had with style, chops, flash, swing. He was amazing. He was a total showman. And I don't think anyone else has ever mentioned that he was the dead ringer for Paul McCartney. He looked like his twin brother to me. I said, those guys look like the same guy.
I don't know, but I saw a clip of him this morning playing drums live on some TV show. I was amazed.
Yeah.
How good he is.
Not only how good he was, I mean, you know, his showmanship aside, the guy had amazing technique. He was a jazz drummer. He had played with Lionel Hampton. He did the R&B circuit in New Orleans. He had played sometimes with Little Willie John, blues legend Little Willie John.
Yeah.
So he met Eddie Brigatti and Felix Cavalieri in 1963. I think 64, or maybe around Gene Cornish. I think he's originally from Canada, but by way of New York. And Gene Cornish, he was the guy in the band that didn't have a vowel at the end of his name. You know, So
I'm staying out of this, Lou.
Where'd he come from? It's like my favorite year. How'd you get in the building? I'm the superintendent. But he's a great guitarist, and he's a harmonica player as well. That's him playing on Groovin'.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So what they did, so that time, they got their start. I think their first gig. This is funny, Perry. I don't know if you ever heard about this. Their debut gig was at the Choo Choo Club in Garfield, New Jersey.
I had read that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, who knows where that would have been? Maybe
my sister tells me it was
Avenue.
probably down on like by 6th Street down there. Yeah.
So apparently, how they found covers was that Dino Danelli and Felix Cavaliere would go to record stores. That's how they found Mustang Sally. That's how they found Good Lovin', which was written by other songwriters. Was it Randy Clark and Arthur Resnick? It was just another song, and they covered it, and that was a #1.
Yeah, they made it a hit.
Yeah, they made it a hit. So Dino Danelli was amazing enough to be the drummer on 3 #1 hits of the Rascals, and the hits were Good Lovin' in 1966. That was her first hit.
Yeah.
Groovin' in 1967. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. It never sounds old. It just never sounds. I always will listen to it from beginning to end, no matter where I hear it.
When was Good Lovin'? What year was that? That was earlier
67.
Ones, right?
67. Well, yeah, 66. They had their hits were between 66 and 68.
What I find interesting about Good Lovin' is if you listen to it, it goes 1, 2, 3, and they pan it from ear to ear,
Well, yeah, but the thing is, each guy that sang, because everyone but Dino sang, each one went 1, 2, 3. So it was Felix, Eddie, Gene.
Really?
So they sang a syllable. It's pretty cool. When I was playing with my friends Duck and Mark up in Burnsville, we were doing Rascals covers. No one ever heard it. But when we did Good Lovin', we did that. So each of us did the count. It's not easy to do.
No.
It's surprisingly. It's a weird thing when you do it yourself. You go 1, 2, 3. When
well,
you're
do you want to hear a little sample of it, and maybe we can gauge the kind of drumming that he did on it?
Okay.
Let's see.
1,
2, 3.
I like that. Yeah. I don't worry about the screen. I don't know why it did that. That's the issues I'm having, but we're still here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's swingy. It has a Latin feel, and that chord progression can be as many songs.
And I like the little cymbal things that he was doing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's playing melodically on the tom-toms. I mean, it's kind of jazzy. It's if you see those videos, he's not like that famous wedding drummer on YouTube that does that crazy shit.
Yeah,
not miss a beat. But he had it. But he had his thing. But that song just moves. I mean, that was a #1. That was dance music in the early '60s, mid '60s. It was total. I mean, you're tapping your foot to it. No, it's been played to death. I do think that's a song of the Grateful Dead. I was cruel to it many times, but when I hear the Dead's version. Not the live one because I heard I heard a terrible live version yesterday. Mark, I'm sorry. Long? I mean, they're a great band, but this was not good. Their recorded version, I think, is very good. Their version of Good Lovin'.
Bob Weir sings very good.
Yeah. He does.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that version, the Dead version. Yep.
Yeah. So, on Good Lovin', the signature on that song is that Hammond B3 organ and Felix Cavaliere. It's a great solo.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the song it moves, it burns. He was a driving drummer. He was so energetic. I mean, he was fast. Yeah. The guy had speed.
And there was a couple of those numbers there where he was playing percussion too.
Yeah,
on some of those more groovier songs.
Yeah,
that they did right.
There's a version of Groovin' where I think that there's one. Well, I've seen the Broadway show. He plays his kit. I think from 2013. But the one TV version, he's playing some congas and he's rapping the stick on the side of the conga, to keep the time during the verse, but the chorus rather. But yeah, they were amazing band. They were not slick. They were sophisticated, but they were not slick. How Can I Be Sure that's as good as anything that Bacharach and David ever wrote. And that break part, the bridge part, is up there with anything they ever did. That da 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 da. It's it's classic '60s soul pop soul. Also up there with anything Laura Nero ever did.
A little bit of grooving, all right?
Sure.
Let's see. I think there's percussion in here by Dino, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you said that was one of the guys playing the harmonica in there, correct?
Gene Cornish, the guitar player.
Gene Cornish, yeah.
The guy without the vowel at the end of his name. Maybe could have chipped in and bought him one. That's all right. Wait, if Gene Cornish's name could be Italianized, what would it be? Corniche.
Yeah.
So, you know, these earlier ones with Dino on drums, they were pop, and they evolved. And, you know, they got a little more soulful. I mean, I guess they were always soulful, but it really came to be. I mean, Atlantic Records. Was Tom Dowd their guy? Was he their producer, engineer?
I don't think there was something. I think one of them mentioned something when they got inducted, but I wasn't sure because I didn't see that when we talked about Tom Dowd as a producer. That didn't come up. Maybe he might have done. Maybe he engineered the remaster like Timepiece, which was a retrospective up till '67. But did not include People Got to Be Free, which was their number one hit in 1968. So it wasn't on that. They should stick it on there because that would encompass the whole hit thing.
Yeah, it would. Yep.
We're back.
We're back, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do think that they were kind of self-produced in some way. I'm not sure if it was Arif Mardin but they thanked Ahmet Erdogan for something. I guess when he heard them, he believed in them and said, this is the band that could do things. I mean, in 2 years, what they did. So this is.
Ahmet's a guy that has immense patience with bands and lets them develop, and I'm sure he gave them that time to develop.
Sure. You know, the thing is, Mark, they really didn't need it. The reason being because back then, and up until the 70s and 80s, well, I guess I don't know how it happens now with these new bands. Like, where's the circuits they play or whatever it is. But you know, they cut their teeth in the R&B market. Like I think they all went out to Vegas at some point. They were the nucleus of the Rascals were in the band Joey D and the Starlighters. They had their big hit song was the Peppermint Twist. It was a big hit. Now the name of the dance is the Peppermint Twist.
Yep.
Now the Peppermint Lounge is where they had a residency as Joey D, and apparently it was a sensation. I remember this as a kid seeing the papers. But there was a line of celebrities a mile long to get in. Like Princess Grace of Monaco was trying to get in to see Joey D. And you know, all roads lead to Jersey, right, guys? So
Absolutely.
Joey D is Joey D Nicola. I've been friends since the 6th grade with his son Nicky. So Nick D Nicola is the son of Joey D and the Starlighters.
Oh wow!
So all these little things come back.
Yeah.
Back around,
well, let's bring it back to Dino though. Let's get
sure.
Let's how about It's a Beautiful Morning.
Okay. That was a number 3 in 1968.
And he's on congas on that one too, right? I believe he plays the percussion as well as the drums.
Well, he did too. Also, Eddie Brigatti played a lot of percussion too. So while Dino was playing the drum kit, it could have been very much Eddie because Eddie had the tambourine, maracas, but I do think he played a lot of percussion.
Let's give it a little sample. Here, right?
One second before you do that. So they reached the Billboard Top 20 of the Billboard Hot 100 with 9 singles in 2 years.
Wow,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So they only existed from 66 till 69. That's it.
68.
Their last 2 or 3 years, right?
2 years. 2 years.
It could be 3. You know, it could have been the whole year of 66, the whole year of 67, and the whole year of 68. So it could
you want to split hairs over here? That's what you're doing.
Well, I'm saying that's still a short career for having a lot of these hits, right?
Fucking okay. Craig. Oh no, we're mini people again. Little people.
Mini.
It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and smile.
Yeah.
Now, when I had a friend I worked with, and we're talking about the Rascals, he goes, well, "What do they do with that song?" So I named all these songs.
Yeah. And
then when I played them for him, he goes, "They were good." I said, "That's the best white soul band." He goes, "They're white." A lot of people who heard them. I saw some, and this is interesting. I saw some little posters on YouTube, and it was like things that were printed back then in the mid '60s, saying, you know, the blackest white band ever. I mean, that's what they were being sometimes billed as, because they really were. I mean, there were people didn't know they were white. And then it's a compliment. It's a high compliment, of course, because, you know, the music had such a a deep down soul groove. And
Yeah.
A high compliment being signed to Atlantic Records. I mean,
yes,
Aretha Franklin and
yeah.
Somebody knew. Somebody, I don't know. Maybe it was Ahmet Erdogan or his
apparently,
brother or whoever.
I think, or did Arif Martin was he with Atlantic or no?
He was with Atlantic. Yeah.
But I don't know if that. But what Felix Cavalieri, and if you see the Broadway show, I forgot the name. That's something wonderful. Oh, that's bad. They had these little snippets where they interview each member of the band about how they got together. And I think at one point on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Felix thanked, I think, Ahmet Erdogan for saying, having the wisdom to say that band has something.
Wow, yeah. So somebody knew, the A&R guy or whoever the person was, because they were old guys back then.
Sure.
Somebody said, "Wow, you got to sign these the young rascals," or what they were called back then, right?
Yeah, and there was a period where they were kind of molded. There's little Lord Fauntleroy outfits.
I saw a clip where they were wearing little schoolboy outfits. Yeah,
they had these round collars and the bow ties. Now, when Steven Van Zandt inducted him, he had his getup on, and at the end of it, he takes it off, and he's got one of their shirts on with the tie. But he also produced. I should know the name of that friggin' Broadway show. I can't believe I skitzed out on it.
I do remember seeing them in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I was annoyed. They could only play medleys of their hits. They wouldn't even let them play 3 minutes of a song.
No, Mark, are you looking at it?
I have one confirmation on producing. Once Upon a Dream was produced by the Rascals with Arif Martin. Then Timepiece. Well,
also, Mark, that's the name of the Broadway show.
Oh, okay, all right. And then Arif was their producer. Tom Dowd had a little thing with them too, but Arif Martin was their big. Yeah, he was involved.
Atlantic.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there was a Broadway show like there was Jersey Boys and those kind of things. There was a show about them.
Once Upon a Dream, like Mark said, it was produced by Steve Van Zandt and his wife. And they did on Broadway, but also they played some other theaters. The shows were good. It wasn't they didn't use a big band. There were some backup singers. Maybe I thought I heard a saxophone, but it was pretty much the Rascals as they were. Felix Cavalieri sounded amazing. That guy, his voice, he hasn't lost his voice. They have to lower. They're older. They lowered things, and that was 2013.
Yep.
But not for lack of anything. Even Eddie Brigatti, he did "How Can I Be Sure." It wasn't what he was in 1967. I call that his bridge over troubled water. But it sounded really good. Dino was absolutely fucking amazing. Playing with power. Maybe he's not getting up and jumping around like he used to when he was 23, whatever. But he still drove those songs. And
wow,
I would say not unlike
not
unlike Ginger Baker when you saw the Cream reunion. Ginger Baker wasn't playing with the same frenzy and just intensity that he did in '68 because that's just the way it is. But Dino but what he did with the same power, the same groove, the same feel that he did, just pure brilliance. And I was listening. Our friend Satmitter Singh, when I did record his EP Traces, it was originally just supposed to be acoustic guitar of his. But when I heard it, I said, these songs have a jazzy swing. Let me put drums on it. And my inspiration for doing that was Dino Danelli. And he even Satmitter said after the fact, he goes, I didn't think it was going to work. I said, well, it's jazzy. So that was my attempt at emulating what he did. Hopefully with some swing. So that's the influence. And that was just the fact. But Steve Van Zandt, when he inducted Dina, when he was talking about him, he said that he goes, this guy was just the greatest drummer in rock and roll. And most of my friends are drummers. Like Max Weinberger is a dear friend of Steve Van Zandt. But he goes, but you are simply the best. And I agree. And Max has been influenced. You can see the thing in Max. Max is a showman drummer in his own way, and I think a lot of that came from Dino. So I thank him and I thank the Rascals because I'm such a fan.
There's still I have a couple more. Like they had a song. I don't know what it's all about. Like. Let's see what he does. Let's see what Dino does on that. All right.
I don't know what it's all about, but I feel I'll soon find.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that was.
We didn't hear Dino.
Yeah, that was one of their like poppy. Right, that was sort of them little what would you call that? I don't know. I like when I first heard that intro, the piano intro.
I think it's up there with Laura Nero and
68-ish, right?
Late 60s. I call it urban pop soul. But it wasn't slick. But when the drums come in, it's very jazzy.
All right. Speaking of pop soul, let's get right to it. All right. Good drums.
Great lyrics.
Yeah, that is soulful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's such a memorable song.
And that's one of their last ones, right? One of their last hits.
That was their last hit. That was their last, but their last hit was the number one. That was the summer of 1968.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I was 7. I turned 7 that year. I remember that song. Yeah,
I remember that all over the radio.
Oh my!
And
jukeboxes, the radio, absolutely.
That was one of those songs. I don't get tired of hearing that song, man.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
It's time. I think they're timeless. And for anyone of the digital age, I would say even those productions. If you're not an audiophile, those productions the drums aren't big. The productions aren't big, but you can hear every single instrument. But just go with the flow, go with the groove of it. And one thing I noticed, I was playing with along to that. There's an album timepiece that was like the best of the best, except for People Got to Be Free. I played along with my digital drums last night, and I listened. His bass drum was wide open. I would like to see those recording sessions because there's not a lot of padding in Dino's bass drum, so that's like a jazz drummer.
And the good thing too is there were no studio musicians coming. It was them. They were an actual band.
I think they might have used the bass. They might have used Chuck Rainey here and there. I think Chuck Rainey might have played on a couple songs. But I think Gene Cornish played bass on quite a few. And if they didn't, But if they didn't, Felix played it with the bass pedals on his organ.
Right. No different than the Doors bringing in a bass player.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because, they had a keyboard player and a guitar player. Yeah. So not surprised there.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
So how long? So did he live to be an old man? Was it?
He was 78. Apparently he was arterial sclerosis.
We don't have to go into it, but
anyway. So, but he had some health issues in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, but I think he will hopefully, because I don't think he was given his proper due during his lifetime, except on here on the Music Girls podcast, and on probably Little Steven's Underground Garage. I'm sure Bill Kelly will say something.
Yeah, and anyone listening out there, look up this guy. I saw that clip from, I think it was from some TV show in 1968. I was amazed, man, at this Dino Danelli. Amazed. You've been telling me about him for years.
Sure,
and I've heard the Rascal hits.
Oh yeah, man.
But when you listen closely through headphones, oh yeah.
Yep. But
I'm not sure if you guys can.
What's that?
I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but it might be worth mentioning what he did after the Young Rascals. I see that he formed a group called Bulldog. Yes. Now, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, really?
But then he joined the Leslie West Band. And then he was a member of Steve Van Zant's Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. So
yes, and he was the drummer. There was I think their first single, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. I think it's If I Give You My Heart. It was a really good song.
Yeah.
If I Give You My Heart. But Dino played on that. He was in the band. Perry, our neighbor Mark Pender of the Conan O'Brien band, he was in the horn section on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I remember when he did that session, he got a coat. He got a Disciples of Soul coat, like a long leather coat. It looked like it had rats attached to the back, or like squirrel fur or something. But we went Jersey early on the show. I like that.
So Dino Danelli, late great drummer. Excuse me.
Yeah.
He recently left, right? He recently, very recently.
December 15th. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I would say, I think he will get his due after the fact. And I was happy to say, a couple of years ago, actually last summer or summer before, me and some friends, the guy I used to play with in casual band, he goes, let's get together and play some Rascals tunes. So we played a lot of those songs. We played there's a song called "Come On Up." I don't know if you have the sample of it. It's garage rock. Also, the fact that they were such a great band that Pat Benatar covered "You Better Run." On
You
her
Better
first
Run.
album.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a cover.
Yeah.
That's the Rascals, man.
Wow.
He's got in certain circles. He's got his due. I mean, in certain circles.
Oh, sure.
Everyone knows who this guy is.
Yeah, and I would say, and definitely in our neck of the woods, if you're into soul music, if you're a fan of the '60s, the Rascals they're amongst the cream of the crop. It's funny when they got inducted, Eddie stepped up and he said, "We had more magic in us." It was definitely a melancholy moment for him. He said, "We had more magic in us. We had magic." And so I think that was one way of him saying that, they shouldn't have broken up the way they did. What happens after the big hits, they had the desire and the inclination to spread out as artists and to, get outside the pop soul movement. So they kind of went psychedelic. But at that point, they ended. But the period they had was something that is just pure gold.
Oh, yeah.
I'm grateful. Yep.
So let me give you a trivia question, guys. Okay? You ready?
Okay.
I'll try.
Come on, Mark.
We all know who Merle Haggard was, right? Well, is because they still exist. Dino Danelli, his music is still there. All that drumming he did, it still exists.
It will live on forever.
Correct. So Merle Haggard was in San Quentin prison in 1958, 20 years old. He was a 20-year-old convict. And something happened at San Quentin that changed his life. San Quentin, 1958. Something happened in 1958 that changed his life. Do you guys want to have a guess at what that event may have been that changed Merle Haggard's life? 1958.
He heard someone sing for the first time.
Lou, you want to have a guess?
Did Johnny Cash play there?
Johnny Cash played at San Quentin in 1958. Merle Haggard was a 20-year-old convict. Changed his life. He said, "I'm going to become a country singer." Yep.
Wow.
Johnny Cash. Yeah. Johnny Cash played at Folsom Prison in 1968, but he played at San Quentin in 1958. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I based my guess upon Folsom Prison.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Johnny Cash always
Pretty
did
cool.
that. He visited prisons and entertained. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did Merle ever play with
58.
Johnny?
What's that?
Were Merle and Johnny ever in like a super outlaw
I'm sure.
band?
Well, I don't know about that, but they became friends. I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have songs they've done together.
I think Johnny said, "I don't hang out with inmates.
Well,
I don't hang out with crooks."
Well, Merle was one of those torn characters because, he'd be like, I'd rather be an Okie. We don't smoke marijuana down on Main Street,
Yeah.
But then he started hanging around with Willie and he became an outlaw. So he evolved.
He got cool. He got cool.
Yeah, he got cool. He evolved from that. Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
Let me see if I have another one.
Perry, who was it? Wait, who was Buddy Holly's bass player that didn't get on the plane? Wasn't Merle?
That was Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they've experimented with putting out 45s. All the 45s that we had as kids that we listened to on the radio, they were all in mono. Mm-hmm. But so they've experimented throughout the years making 45s in stereo. And not a lot of success. But in 1968, there were 2 singles that were put out in stereo. And they were both huge hits by major bands, one West Coast, one East Coast. And they were their singles were put out in stereo. Now, 1968. So these are like some of the 2 first 45s successful that were released in stereo because they knew people started having better equipment at home, right?
Are you asking us if we know who
I'm
they are?
asking you if you want to have a guess as to what these 2 1968 hit 7-inch singles were that were released in stereo, a West Coast band and an East Coast band.
I'll take a stab at the West Coast. I'll say The Doors' Touch Me.
Lou, do you want to have a guess at the West Coast artists? West Coast band?
68.
1968.
American band?
American band.
West Coast band.
West Coast, yeah.
Steppenwolf.
Mark was right on. It was the Doors, but it was
Wow.
Hello, I Love You was
Oh,
the
shit.
Ah.
Wow, cool.
was released
With
in
great drum
stereo.
intro.
45 released in stereo.
Nice.
Now the East Coast band.
Oh, God. 68.
1968, big number, big radio hit, released in stereo on a 45. Not LP, 45 released in stereo.
Was it rock? R&B,
It
soul?
can be considered a little bit of both, I guess, as far as because they play it on radio stations weren't just what do you think?
Yeah.
1968 East Coast band.
You Keep Me Hanging On, Vanilla Fudge. Maybe I have the wrong year.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have no idea where they were from. This is a famous East Coast band.
Vanilla Fudge were famous.
By East Coast, you say New York, New Jersey. Or like
Correct.
Maine.
Yeah. Yep.
New York, 1968. The Rascals. People got to be free.
Mark, want to have a guess?
I was going to say Vanilla Fudge. You Keep Me Hanging On.
Lou is right on. It was
Whoa.
Rascals' Beautiful Morning.
Beautiful
Was a
morning.
45 released in stereo, 1968.
Mark
Yeah.
and I both got the bands, but the song wrong.
Yeah.
Right, but you were right
That's a
on
win.
target.
That's a win.
Right on target. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Very cool. Very
So
cool.
that's
Nice.
that's a win-win. Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
We're
We're smart.
we've never
Win-win.
done that before. That's the first.
We're half smart.
We have smart. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The Rascals. So it was a beautiful morning. Perry, funny you should mention that when I was playing along with Timepiece.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the songs are mono mixes. There's other things where, but a beautiful morning there was a spectrum.
Yeah.
That you mentioned.
Released-
Very cool.
Yeah. But of course,
Time-
I'm sure it was
timely
on an
piece.
LP also. I don't know. Maybe they didn't do that. Like the Beatles recorded 45s that weren't on the albums.
I don't think so. I think they had them on the album.
They had them on the LP.
Yeah,
Well, anyway,
'cause
but
one
it
of their
was
albums is
released
called
in a
Good Lovin'.
45 7-inch in stereo, which was a rarity.
Well,
Oh, and
Yeah.
one other thing too.
I wish I was
Haggard.
older in that period. I think I was born at the wrong time.
No, you heard the radio, man. You don't.
I
you
know,
know,
but that stuff we heard as kids, like it seeped into our heads. Like Night of the
Yeah,
Living Dead when you
yeah.
see it when you're 8 years old.
Yeah.
You forget that
Yep.
shit.
Oh, and one
Right,
other
Mark?
thing about
Right,
Merle
Mark?
Haggard. Merle Haggard died on his birthday. He's a troubadour, Merle Haggard.
Did he
died
really?
died on his 79th birthday
That's
on his
fucked
tour
up.
bus.
Wow.
That's a troubadour. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, depending upon the time he was born, he might not have made it actually to his birthday. Right?
Yeah,
point.
well, it's like Hank Williams. Did he die on New Year's Eve or So.
Yeah.
I think we need
From-
Quincy.
From an astrological point of view, like he might have been not made it really to his birthday.
Yep. Oh, one other thing too. One other little question too. Which rock and roller showed up at the gates of Graceland, Elvis's home, drunk, flailing a pistol around,
Oh.
It
saying
wasn't
that
Bruce. It wasn't Bruce.
saying that Elvis always gets better press than me.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Mark, have a guess?
I'm going to go with Jerry Lee Lewis, too.
You're both right on. Jerry Lee Lewis brandishing a gun, drunk in front of Graceland,
Crazy son of a bitch.
yep,
And his wife was 18.
saying that how come he always
aged
gets
4
good
years.
press? He always gets good press, and I get shit press. Yeah,
Say what you want about those guys or about him. I mean, like he was a crappy person. Apparently, I mean, anything I've read, abusive to women, the whole bit. But these guys were hell bent for leather, man. That's what they wouldn't have been that way. The rock and roll would not have been that way if they weren't that
Yeah.
way. It wouldn't have happened. It just
We had that
it had to be
discussion.
that.
yeah.
Rock and roll was bad boy stuff, and then, they were the raw side of it.
But now
Yeah.
think about Jerry Lee. How many big hits did he have? I can think of two. Great Balls of Fire and the other one.
Yeah. Right.
The other
Breathless.
one.
Was that a hit or a minor hit?
That was probably a hit. It was probably a hit
Baby.
with 45 a hit singles. Yeah.
So he was a two-hit wonder.
Yeah, he wasn't the big ones like Johnny Cash was
Elvis.
big from some
Elvis.
records. Elvis was big.
Say what you want about Elvis when he got in his Vegas period, but his rock and roll stuff was pretty right on. His version of Little Sister is amazing. Is that James? I think that's James Burton on guitar.
James Burton was in his band in the Vegas period. Yeah.
And also, we took a little side, but Rick Nelson's stuff in the 50s was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he never got much credibility because of.
Yes, he does.
He was on Leave It. He was on Leave It to Beaver, right? I mean, but he had to get past Ozzy and Harriet.
Yeah.
But he was
the classic guitar on Hello Mary Lou, Rick Nelson. People still talk about that chicken picking solo to this day. It's classic. Yeah.
It's Richard Burton, isn't
it? Lamar Burton.
He was on Star Trek.
Cliff Burton from Metallica was the best. Rest in peace.
Excuse me.
Rock and roll tragedy. We have a book here.
Yeah, I know.
I'm afraid to go into. It's too morbid. I'm afraid. How dark do we want? How dark do you want to get?
Lou, go to your evening radio voice.
That was Perry Dedovich on the tenor saxophone. Blue Note, 1946.
We've all had records, right? We've all had albums. We've all had 45 singles, right? We've even come across like garage sales, 10-inch, 78 RPMs. You ever come across any of those? Just, as a novelty or whatever.
He does.
Yeah. And
10-inch records were the best.
They were 10-inch, and the 78 RPMs came in 10-inch and 12-inch.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like in the 20s and 30s. Problem was, because of the RPMs, you only got about 3 minutes to 5 minutes of music on one disc. And then you flip it over, you can only get 3 minutes because they played so fast. So what they did was, I've seen these at garage sales because I used to run a garage sale when I worked for a church. And they'd package them in like little albums, and there'll be 4 or 5 of these 10-inch records in there, which is a whole thing now, a whole catalog of these songs. And apparently these things were really fragile because I've seen them break like nothing. They were made from shellac. They were made from shellac. Well, apparently there was a bug.
You're going to get a good shellacking, Barry.
Well, it was a funny term, right? They made from a bug. There was called like a lac bug, and I kid you not. And they would. Shit out. I don't know if they crush up the bugs and mix them with a petroleum byproduct. I'm not kidding.
I imagine that. Yeah.
What are you going on about? What is this?
and they would press them into records, but because of the speed, they couldn't. You can't get you get 3 minutes of music on it. Yeah, that's why they had to have so many records.
I'm still stuck on the bugs. Wait a second. Come on.
I'm not kidding. You can look it up.
Let's talk about it now. This is fascinating. It's more interesting than the music.
Let's talk about it.
Wait. So they made this the space age polymer out of dead bugs. They melted down into okay.
They were called a lac bug. Yeah, maybe shellac came from that. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
And they mixed it with the petroleum byproduct.
We have an entomologist over here.
They pressed it, and it became a record.
Okay.
Yeah, but more interesting though, Columbia.
I don't think so.
Columbia. Well, I never.
Those are all the dead bugs that made your record.
I don't think they were bug.
I've had some wine and I'm a little drunk. I don't care.
But in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s,
scratching moment.
Columbia Records started experimenting now with expanding the groove so you can get more time on there, and with the enhancement of the audio and everything.
Grooving.
And RCA, the two competitors were RCA Victor and Columbia Records, and they were vying for this other market. So they were both had research and development on, trying to get 33 and a third, because when they changed the way the grooves are, now you can fit 45 minutes of music on one side. And that was the thing. So apparently Columbia came up with it and I guess patented it or whatever. So in 1948, Columbia started putting out LPs with long players, of course, LP.
Right.
Now you can fit a lot of music on there. And RCA kind of lost out on that. They had experimented with it, but their patents ran out. So really they couldn't cash in like Columbia did. But RCA had a plan. They were working on a 45 RPM 7-inch record. And they captured that part of the market.
Wow.
And you know how huge that became.
Yeah.
So they started doing 45 RPMs. So they had little things like this. So what they would do is they would put them out, and there it is, RCA Victor, right? That happens to be a Perry Como record. But they would put 2 or 3 of these in a little album thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now you had, a half an hour of music on there. So that's the way they did it. But the 45s were the thing, because once they hit the 45 RPM, they were cheaper to produce. They were easier to hand out to DJs at the record companies.
Right.
All sorts of things. They made it easier.
Big.
Yep. And they cashed in on it big time, man. So
also the format of having one song or 2 songs on one piece of vinyl or Dead Bugs or whatever is really cool.
No. Well, here it's funny you say that, because now when Columbia started working on the LPs, right? They were no longer shellac. They were vinyl.
Vinyl, yeah.
Because they were actually made from polyvinyl chloride, PVC. That's where the term vinyl came in. Yep.
Space age plastic.
So, but it's not dead bugs. It's not dead bugs and lacquer. It's polyvinyl chloride.
I'm not going to get over that.
Well, but let's say this. Within 1 month of RCA putting out 45s, they sold millions of them. Millions.
Back then, yeah.
So this was really something that's going, and they cost, they said they cost 65 cents or whatever, but apparently that's
price structure. You could sell a single for 65 cents versus a long playing album. People could just go plunk down some money and get the single.
Right.
But they said back then it's comparable like $7 today for a single.
Wow.
And in the 40s and 50s, the album cost $5. It's comparable to $60 today. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that maybe not the average person maybe not be able to buy an album. Was that because of the cost ratio? Was that was considered expensive?
Well, there was also the thing of, like say the 78s, the 33 and third, and the 45s. People had to now upgrade their stereo systems because, now, of course, our generation, they were all three variable speed. Our record players had all of them. They could play all of them. But they didn't have that luxury back then. So in the 50s, people started buying record players now with the variable speeds.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Rock around the clock.
The variable speeds were what?
78, 33 and a third, and 45.
And 45, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Trivia question.
Yes.
What major artist put out an album named after a variable speed?
George Harrison.
Yes.
33 and a third.
Yes.
I lost that one. Of course. I suck.
1955. Rock Around the Clock. Bill Haley and the Comets sold 3 million singles.
In that year?
Now, that's a lot of money. Yeah, that's a lot of money being generated for, 65 cents or whatever it cost back then.
How much was he screwed out of?
Now, that I don't know. I don't know. But
back what year was that? 50 what?
1955, Rock Around the Clock. Yeah.
Oh.
Now, 45s reached their peak around 1974 because they were still selling singles in 1974.
Yeah.
In 1974, do you want to have a guess as to how many singles were sold in 1974?
600,000.
Mark?
1.5 million. I'm going way up there.
200 million.
Holy shit.
That's 45s were at their peak in 1974.
Wow.
Yep.
And then it declined after that.
Well, we can go into in the future about when cassettes came in and when CDs came in, and it was all the
but I mean, cassettes were in. I had a cassette player in 1970. I got it for a Christmas gift.
right, but people were still buying 45s, and people were still buying records. And,
I bought 45s in the 80s up until like 1980. I got Motley Crue, Home Sweet Home on vinyl 45. That's like 86 or something.
Yeah.
Also, jukeboxes in the 60s and up until the 70s drove the 45 business.
Yes.
And you know who was in on that? The Mafia.
Well, they also say, like in 1977, a big hit single was "Go Your Own Way," and by Fleetwood Mac, and you flip it over, and it was Silver Springs. That Stevie Nicks duet with Don Henley, right?
To a collector like me, we used to always try to get 45s because it almost always had a non-LP B-side. And that was like the shit to have that,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's just a little brief history and interesting, but in the future, I'll go into cassettes and, CDs and
8-tracks.
Well, Mark, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
8-tracks, cassettes, and stereo.
Don't go into cassettes. God.
Last week, Mark, you were talking about... You were talking about
Canadian.
You were talking about. I'm sorry. You were talking about. You were talking about 8-tracks, Bill Lear.
Yeah.
You said something that there was a puck in there, and it dawned on me, like, what are you talking about? What is a puck? When you're talking about, you said there was a puck similar to a reel-to-reel or something.
If
what
you
is
looked
that?
at the,
wasn't he on MTV?
I don't have any sound effects.
You never do anymore.
If you looked at an 8-track with the tape, the side that the tape's running across, on each side there was a little puck, a round thing. Now, they were really cheap, hard plastic when they mass produced them. But the original design is, remember, you looked at a 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape, they would have a nice rubber puck. And that thing, Perry, you know that.
So what is it, like a capstan?
Yeah, so it grabs, when you would put the 8-track in the 8-track player, there would be a little metal bar it would go against, and that puck would turn, and the bar would turn. The problem is, like, if you had rubber, like the original ones had rubber, but it was too expensive. That would have made them prohibitively priced. But it was perfect. When they went to those plastic pucks, also they degraded, too. 8-tracks did not last over time. Cassettes lasted a lot better than 8-tracks.
Yeah.
So puck you.
If you go in the spring, I'm sure when you get garage sales, there'll be boxes of them.
You know what? People will buy old 8-tracks just for the nostalgia. They know that 80% of the time they're not going to work.
Yeah, it's enough. What were you going to say, Lou?
Also, when you have a cassette, on the tape itself, there's a connector. What is that called?
That little metal thing with the pad on it?
It looks like the two pieces of tape that had to be spliced together. There's like a splicing point. Connecting point.
At the beginning.
Yeah,
you need to have leader, which is not cassette tape. It's like clear plastic or whatever.
Right.
And I know from working in cassettes, you have a splicer that actually will cut it and apply the tape there. And if it's not done right, they can come off too. I bought a Judas Priest cassette once, and it totally came off of my cassette deck. So
it unravels. Yeah.
That's why vinyl and CDs are the best.
Yeah. Well, how many times have you got a cassette stuck in your deck and you pull it out? It's just
Jesus.
It's like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
At some point in the future, this will be corrected with CDs, But now I had a CD player stuck in my car for like 6 months, and I just got it out.
Me too.
You know how I got it out? I went on YouTube, and some bloviating blowhard that wants to be famous is talking for 45 minutes, but take your dashboard off. Like, fuck you. I took another CD and I jammed it into it until it came out and it popped out.
There you go. Yeah.
Take your dashboard off.
Yeah, screw you. I'll be able to get that back on too. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Influencer.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys want to talk about some random subjects, or do you want to do a wonder? What do you want to do?
I got a couple random things.
Me too.
Who wants to go first?
Where are mine? Can you do yours? I can't find mine.
All right, yeah. I got something here. What do you guys feel about drones? What's your feeling on drones?
Drone? You mean
the drones that fly? Someone can film your barbecue without you knowing it.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I hate them. I hate drones. I think they're the most, because it gives people the chance to look in windows. unless it's for a commercial use.
How do you feel about military strikes that would otherwise involve civilians that might be killed?
We're talking about the little.
I
the
think
little
Mark is
drone.
more concerned about people droning now to film outdoor rock shows now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So down in Chile, the band.
Sorry.
I'm just going to keep talking.
Go for it.
Mike Patton, who has a band called Mr. Bungle, but he used to have that band Faith No More. Remember them?
Yep.
He was playing down at the Knot Fest in Chile, and they were covering Slayer's Hell Awaits, and I've seen a video of it, when some annoying fan decided, I want to get a good video of the show, and flew a drone in. So he gave the drone the finger, invited it in, he tried to hit it, it backed out, back in, back out. But he wanted to smash that thing, out, and it seems like it's starting to become an issue at outdoor shows, because Axl Rose also had that problem. He was in Australia. People are doing it. I say, I hate it. I hate drones. When it's just some guy saying, I'm going to get a better little view. If I was singing or playing and a drone came up to me, I'd whack that thing out,
I think. Yeah. It's like a creepy model airplane. Because it's one thing to fly helicopters, and I have one that has a camera in it, but I haven't used it. Someone gave it to me, but it has a camera in it. I'm like, this could be kind of weird.
That's the thing. They have cameras in them. Yeah, that's what they were. I mean, they film weddings with drones, and
Well, if I went to like a park, like say I went to Bear Mountain and I'm hiking, that's fine. Like you put the drone up, you can see. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's just like, I know that a lot of people are like flying drones over their hometowns. I was having a barbecue here in Pearl River out back once, and there was a drone flying down the block. I'm like, that pissed me off.
Well, they're obviously getting crowd shots.
Yeah.
They're getting, and they're trying, they hope to get over to the band and just get the band from above, but.
This drone went right up to Mike Patton. Like the guy who the asshole had it, flew it over the crowd, right up to the singer. Yeah, that's not right. Don't do that.
During a performance, that's also same. It's like bootlegging it kind of, or just you're bootlegging a video. And
but I would also guess
as an artist, you're playing. You can't be fucking up. All these people around there. You can't the distractions or whatever. So you got this hummingbird buzzing in your face. I would swat it too, just out of principle.
These things go up high. They go up high.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I assume it was somebody who wasn't at the show.
Yeah.
Just did it from over the wall or what,
And and the thing is, if it was hired by the promoter to get something for a DVD, they would obviously be instructed, don't get near the band, stay above the crowd. That's fine, if it's for a commercial reason.
Yeah.
But just some asshole. I got a ton of money. I got a really good drone, so I'm going to go right in on the singer.
I've heard suggested. No, go ahead, Lou.
Get a little paranoid here. What if you weaponized it?
Right.
I mean, like John Lennon was murdered by a gun. What if you wanted, not the, I threw it out there, but you know what I mean? It's just that is definitely intrusive. It's intrusive and it's wrong.
Yeah.
But
interesting subject.
It's been suggested that the bands start doing it themselves, filming with their own drones.
Which is fine. They know what they're doing.
And
weaponized at the audience.
Like for a live DVD, like just keep doing it. Beat them at their own game.
Yeah.
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 I guess if you had your own equipment, you could actually. I don't know what I don't have one, so the recording technology in a drone could you could drone yourself for clothes. You know what I mean? You could actually do something in your own thing would actually look really cool, Perry.
Drones have really good uses. Yeah. There's a guy named Les Stroud who has a show called Survivor Man, and he really goes out in the middle of nowhere alone. There's nobody around him. He's not like Bear Grylls.
Yeah.
And he uses his drone to go up and show where he is. Now, that's cool. That's really
it's all production value. Yeah. There's going to be a drone shot. There's going to be him holding his his camera on his walking stick.
But don't go to a concert and think that, I'm just going to fly my drone up. What if the thing crashes? Hit someone in the head,
Yeah.
You're out $400. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool point.
Yeah, but that's it. That's the latest thing now is flying drones at outdoor events. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you can put it on YouTube saying, this is live, this is Kiss live and wherever,
Well, I'm going to put the video for this on our Facebook page just so you can see what Patton, he looks pissed. Yeah. I don't blame him.
Yeah.
We can add that to our line of swag, music relish drones. Spying your neighbors.
No. Those things are hundreds of dollars, man.
Right. Yeah.
What about Debbie Harry? Does something happen with her, Lou?
That's more of an oddity. I do have a random thing though. this year is the 40th anniversary of REM's amazing EP Chronic Town.
Wow. Yeah.
So there was a show at the 40 Watt Club in Athens, Georgia.
Yep.
A lot of alt rock luminaries were there. I think Mike Mills played. Peter Buck played, I believe. Bill Berry and Michael Stipe were there, but did not play. So there's two YouTube videos I saw on YouTube. One was it wasn't from Chronic Town, but they did other songs as well. It was "World Leader Pretend" from the Green album, as sung by Darius Rucker.
Wow.
It was really good.
Really?
Yeah, it was really. I mean, he's a good singer. You know, he's got a good voice. You know,
he's a good country singer. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he has a very pleasant, nice, soothing tone. You know, that kind of thing. But you know, and that's not a super challenging song to sing. But not that he's not a good singer. But it sounded really good. The other one was "Gardening at Night" as sung by Fred Armisen.
Wow.
And it was good. It wasn't great. I think Darius Rucker was much better, but it was good. But the REM Chronic Town EP it's a fantastic EP. It's so good. It's just
where does that fit into the chronology? Is that
well, that was what 81, Perry?
That was before
Murmur.
Yeah.
Murmur
was 83, right?
So maybe Chronic Town was 82 or 81.
Yeah, I would guess it about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred Armisen is a good drummer, by the way, too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
His Netflix special. I forgot what it's
I saw it. Yeah.
Fred Armisen on drums. It's very entertaining.
Yeah. He went to the kits from the 30s and 40s to the 50s, and yeah. Yep.
So my musical relish rarity is Debbie Harry was the lead singer in the great band Blondie. I think they're still around. They won a Grammy, I think, this year.
Really?
They won a Grammy. Some kind of retrospective album, but they were a great band. But before that, she was in a band called the Wind in the Willows Band. Debbie Harry is from New Jersey. She was in a band with a guy named Wayne Kirby, Doc Kirby, as I call him, because he's a friend of mine.
Wow.
He was a songwriter, bass player, the singer. I believe he co-wrote or wrote most of this material, but it was the band they did together. They did two albums, one that were both on Capitol Records. Their first album was released. That was 1968, and it's a self-titled album called "The Wind in the Willows."
68.
Their second album has not been released. Apparently, the whereabouts of the tapes are unknown, but I'm going to say that Doc released two videos on YouTube. I think they're from that record. Sometimes I think he puts them on and takes them off real quick. I don't want to say too much. I'm not going to play them because I don't know how we would feel about that. I played with him quite a few times. He's an amazing bass player. He was the music department chair at UNC in Asheville. He's a theremin aficionado. He's a great guy. He's a judo master. He's a customer of mine, but I've been privileged to play with him a couple of times, and he's a great bass player. Plays a mean surf guitar. An all-around cool guy. But I remember someone said he was in Blondie before they were Blondie, but it wasn't Blondie. It was the Wind in the Willows band. So if you want, check them out on YouTube. It's interesting. It's almost like English folk. It's almost like early Genesis. It's not proggy, but very interesting.
Pastoral, right?
What's that?
Pastoral sounding.
Yes, definitely, Mark.
Yeah.
And he plays a lot of instruments on it. He's a multi-instrumentalist, and she sounds great. Totally different than Blondie. She went rock punk, and she's great.
Yeah.
So, but the album was produced by Artie Kornfeld, who went on to be the music producer for the Woodstock Festival. There was just someone I knew, but when I see him and speak to him, he mentioned, he goes, "Yeah, I played with Debbie Harry." He doesn't elaborate, but Asheville, North Carolina resident. So, but I enjoyed it. I sent it to our friend Scott Mitter, and he thought he goes, "I love it." He goes, "It's very English sounding for an American band." But there's a little local story.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I found out a little bit about. Remember, we were discussing about this publishing deals with Bob Dylan and Steve, selling their publishing and this and that. I found out something interesting about Bob Dylan's deal with Universal UMG. Well, it's Universal UMG, but it's Universal PG, Universal Music Publishing Group. The company will gain 100% of the publishing from Bob Dylan's catalog and collect on the income Bob would have received as a songwriter. So they're collecting copyrights too from that. We give you $300 million.
Yeah.
We're controlling all. We're taking ownership of all of it.
Huh.
So they're collecting copyrights that Dylan would have gotten as a songwriter.
So he got this chunk of money and he walks. That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It actually says that 100% of Dylan's publishing, and they will collect on the income he would have received as a songwriter and controller of each song's copyright. So, yeah, they actually bought it. Now, any new material that Bob Dylan comes out with, he owns.
Okay.
But he sold them everything up until maybe one of his latest records.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's gonna do a cover of like What I Like About You.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
He's gonna make not only did he sell for like $500 trillion, but now he's gonna start doing covers of like What I Like About You, to make like shit tons of money or something, just to say I sold you my money. I sold you this thing for a king's ransom, whatever, and I'm gonna continue to make hits outside of you. I hope he does it.
Well, his records aren't hits like they used to be, but the value of those old songs that that catalog he had from 62 until 20 whatever.
Yeah. Now it's funny because how many outright hits has Bob Dylan had outside of like a Rolling Stone in 65? I don't think there's a whole lot of hits.
Hurricane.
I don't think it matters the hits.
Mark,
you can rethink anything and think about a movie or or commercial.
Yeah. Well, I would think the application how would be. I mean, he's idiosyncratic as an artist. Like can you place a Bob Dylan song in a dishwasher detergent commercial?
I don't think it's really point. That. I think it's more movies. And
well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You have to pick it and place it appropriately.
Yeah. It's album rock, not pop. Yeah. It's not.
They have a department for that, and it might come out in a movie and you'd be like, that friggin' song was great. I never heard that Dylan song, because it's an album track.
Or how about this statewide insurance? That's the story of the hurricane. I mean, this could get really ugly.
Well, that's when Dylan knows he got
something that's
over.
Socially pertinent and just whore it out, because there's a whore living in our building.
Now, Mark, Stevie Nicks cut a deal with this company. You've been telling me about Primary Wave. Right?
Yeah.
She has a strange deal with them. Apparently, she sold an 80% stake in her catalog. And, of course, that's solo work, some of the Fleetwood Mac songs that she wrote. But Primary Wave, along with the catalog purchase, Primary Wave also has access to Stevie Nicks' name and likeness. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
So they can market. They can market.
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks
T-shirts,
and has established a partnership with the singer to allow her to sign new songwriters in a joint venture. So she's A&R now too.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. Because apparently Primary Wave manages other artists.
They've bought a lot of publishing rights.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere, and they bought a lot.
But they're a management company too. They're management, and so they're A&R also.
So it's not like Bob Dylan saying, "Take the stuff, do what you want. I'm moving ahead." With Stevie, it's kind of like a moving forward, working together thing. That's
right, and I'm sure if Stevie Nicks finds an artist to get up to join with Primary, she may get a piece of that too.
I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the A&R person is not dead and that hasn't gone away in the digital age where
maybe there's maybe there is resurgence like LPs, maybe.
To be an A&R artist in the heyday of like late 60s, early 70s, you went and saw bands. You went and you found talent. You heard about talent. You got in.
But the way it's worded, Primary Wave also has access to Nick's name and likeness.
The Welsh witch.
Stevie Nicks Pez heads.
What it means is like
dispensers.
Marilyn Monroe, there's somebody who controls that likeness of Marilyn Monroe. You can't just go printing. So now the likeness of Stevie Nicks with the flowing gown, with the top hat or whatever it may be, that's marketable now.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's similar to Mick Fleetwood's Dangling Balls on the Rumors album.
Which
Right.
were just recently auctioned. They were
Maybe.
auctioned off. They were auctioned off for I forget how much. I forget who. Somebody who
Maybe.
bought them was on. Yeah. Mick Fleetwood's Wooden Balls,
Everything's for sale.
including
Well,
balls.
I'll sell mine for $1 million. Come on.
That Rascals video, Mark, if you want to look for it, it's called. This is what it is. The YouTube destination. It's the Rascals. Do you feel it? 1968 live.
Yes.
That's the link you sent us.
Yeah.
I saw it. I saw it today. It's incredible. I'm
You
going to
did,
put it
you
on the
did.
Facebook
The
page. For
Dino
everyone to see.
Danelli, you will be amazed at the
I
drums
was.
this guy plays. Yeah. Yep.
He was so goddamn good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yep.
He's somebody like, people are going to realize that, well, I was playing like that, that influenced me, Good Lovin' Alone,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people like just are going to swing that beat. And so, yeah.
What?
I told my son about it. I told my son's a percussionist. And I said, Dino Danelli, that goes, he's a kid, but he's heard that stuff. And,
I can't believe the number of tributes on Facebook that poured in from heavy metal, jazz, fusion, all kinds of drummers,
good.
and not even drummers, just classic jazz artists were like paying
I said,
tribute
in
to
certain
Dino.
circles, he is world famous. Yeah.
And also known as a great guy, according to the tributes. Just a very nice guy.
Also,
Incidentally,
he
a
was
heck of a guy, right?
Hey, he was a heck of and a lot of fun at parties, people tell me.
Really?
He was also an artist. He did a lot of their album covers. He was a graphic artist as well.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Gene Cornish gave a nice tribute, and someone else said something that Dino never cared about being a rock star. To him, it was music and art. And, and the fact that he had a great career as a drummer, but it didn't matter. Like, I think a lot of those guys too, like when you see them on the award shows, they weren't stars. They were artists. They were musicians. They did it for the music, and that was it.
Yeah.
Everything else was extra.
Yeah. Yep.
And also Felix Cavalier, one of the best soul singers ever. White, black, it doesn't matter. It's just one of the best soul singers ever. And he still sounds great.
How about I throw in a one-hit wonder before we go on to the...
I have one too.
All right. Let me see if I can locate mine here. All right.
And afterwards,
I'm
I want to
gonna
talk
give
about
this one
Ticketmaster.
What's that, Mark?
And after the one-hit wonders, I got to mention Ticketmaster. Please.
Oh, wait.
Do the one-hit wonders first. I want to lose this one.
Okay. Well, here, let's see if you guys can guess this. I think it's from the 1980s.
Ooh.
Okay, I have a chance.
The Church. Star.
Well,
Under the Milky Way.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes when this place gets kind of empty.
I always liked that song.
I'm stumped. I don't know it.
Sorry.
Where are they from, Lou? They're Australian?
Australia.
What's the name of that song?
Under the Milky Way.
Oh,
Under
wow.
the Milky Way.
I totally missed that.
The Church.
That was the Church, Under the Milky Way. Yep.
Oh, Under the Milky Way. Okay.
Have you got a...
That's being used in TV commercials now. They've licensed
Now,
it.
I put that up as a one-hit wonder. I'm sure they had many more hits, but that's the only one so to me, it's a one-hit wonder. It's the only one I've ever heard by them.
Perry, I think it's their only U.S. top 40 hit.
Okay.
I think you're right. I mean, in Australia and other places, yeah, but I think that was their only number one.
Okay,
That might have
cool.
been that was definitely top 40, top 20 maybe. I mean, that was a pretty big hit.
Yeah, I don't know, but it was. You heard it on the radio. I heard it on the radio without a doubt. Yep.
Yeah, it was a great album. You know the album?
No.
Starfish.
Okay. You had it on cassette. I seem to remember. Yeah.
It was so good an album that was considered 80s alternative. My sister Karen, after hearing it, she's like, "What are you listening to?" I said, "It's the Church." She ended up loving this record.
Yeah.
It's a good album. Sotmitter Singh is a big fan, and the songwriter and singer Steve Kilby has gone on to do many, many things, but they've put out many albums. A great band.
When I was working at CPI, we used to get Billboard magazine, and I'd thumb through it, and they were marketing the Church to look like U2, Jericho, Joshua Tree Time. they were making them look like that. So my
Yeah, they
initial thing
will-
is,
they will
they're
do
a
that,
knockoff
yeah.
of U2. I should have
Yeah.
listened to them.
Yeah, it was. I think the album they did after Starfish had almost like a sci-fi theme, but I remember the artwork was definitely. Their earlier albums were more like jangle pop, almost like a Paisley Revolution or a Paisley pop, but very very tuneful. But a great band. But they, and as far as alternative rock, because we were talking about alternative rock a couple of weeks ago. They were an alternative rock band, but they could play. I mean, they had guitar solos. Like a lot of early alternative rock wasn't about soloing. Early REM wasn't about guitar virtuosity, but bands like the Feelies and the Church actually had some, technical prowess, I guess, and so there were definitely guitar explorations and stuff. But, the Feelies, from Jersey world, they had some jamming guitar solos that went on for many, many times. But,
Yep.
the Church they were a great band.
Have you got a
They are a
one-hit
great
wonder,
band.
Lou?
I do. I hope it comes across.
Take the foam off of your mic. Maybe it'll come across better.
Take the what?
Take the foam off of your microphone, and maybe it'll hear it better.
We might have to give it a couple of goes. This is from the 2000s. It's a
2000. Wow.
It's I think 2011 maybe.
It's
a
recent.
one-hit wonder. Yeah.
Oh, God damn it! I know that song.
It was pretty ubiquitous there for a while.
Mark, give it a whirl.
Could you hear it?
I'm totally at a
I heard
loss.
it, yeah, but I do
I know
not
the
know
song.
what it is.
I'll play some more.
I can't remember the name for the life of me. I heard it on the radio. FUV used to play it all the time.
Okay.
Who is it?
Okay. The artist is called Gotye or Gotye, Gotye. The song is called Somebody That I Used to Know.
Yeah.
2011.
Okay.
He sings it with a New Zealand singer named Kimbra. She's kind of a eclectic pop singer from New Zealand. I remember hearing this on the radio around that time and seeing them on TV. This song was everywhere. It's a huge.
Yeah.
This is a huge number one hit. I'm going to give a list of the countries where it was number one in that year. Okay. It started with Austria, Belgium. You know who else was big in Belgium? Citizen Dick.
Weed.
Did you get
From that
All right.
movie. Yeah.
Citizen
from that?
Dick, yeah.
It was a Reality Sucks or Reality Bites. Okay. It was number one in Canada, Czech Republic, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Hungary, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Mexico, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Poland, Romania, Russia, Scotland, Slovakia, Switzerland, the UK, and the US. Or is all over the charts.
Yeah, that's
was
a
a huge-
worldwide hit.
International,
Yeah.
international worldwide hit. And in July of 2011, it was the number 3 song on the Vanda and Young Global Songwriting Competition. Do you know who Vanda and Young were?
Relative, well, Young, the older brother of Malcolm Young from
You're correct.
AC/DC.
Yes. Now, Vanda and Young were in what 60s band that had some pretty
The
big
Easy
hits?
Beats.
The Easy Beats. Yeah, my man.
And their big hit was. It's
big.
Tuesday on my mind.
Friday on my mind.
Friday on my mind.
Yeah.
Feelings of dementia.
With my girl, she's so pretty.
So you're saying on that song, Fridays, I gotta have a little. That's Angus Young. Those Malcolm. That's their brother. Is
That's
that
what
older?
Angus's
That's
older
her
brother.
Well,
And he
And-
also they produced, or I think George Young produced the earlier AC/DC records.
Yes, and if you see, there's actually, if you really search on YouTube, there's some videos of AC/DC that are really pop. They were making them a pop band before they
Wow.
became a hard rock band. You would laugh. It's stuff you would see on Saturday morning TV.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
all right. Let me play a little bit of a one-hit wonder here. See if you guys or maybe the listeners out there can guess.
You have another one.
Okay, let's see.
It's anarchy.
Oh, shit.
Anybody want to have a guess at that?
Yeah.
I've heard that. God damn it.
Oh, God. I remember this song.
Want me to do the No, I don't want to do the intro.
Nah, I won't.
Can you play a little more? Mbop. It's Hanson.
It's the Hanson brothers.
Bop.
Mbop. Mbop.
Boy, talk about one-hit wonder. They're supposed to be the biggest thing in the world. And they just,
That's right.
Yeah, well, you know what? They had the promotion behind them. So, but you know what? You got to be able to deliver. You know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Catchy little pop tune.
Yes, it is. I see bumper stickers around Asheville that say "I heart Hanson."
My niece Lauren used to love them when she was a little girl. She used to write,
She's gonna kill you
she used
for
to write me
saying that.
letters, and she'd write Uncle, I'm her godfather or whatever. She used to write Uncle Perry Hanson Mbop, and she would sign the letter off like that. Yeah.
That's cute.
So
Yeah.
that was their one hit. Are they doing Christian rock now?
I don't know what to do. That's the only one I've ever heard by them.
Are they
That
on
was it.
celebrity rehab at this point?
Well, I
Those
think
poor
this is
kids.
what they're doing now. I think that's their latest hit.
They're hanging out with those twins from
The Olsen twins.
The Olsen twins. There you go. Yeah.
So, how about we go into this Rush Presto
Wait,
review?
I thought
Yeah.
Mark has some.
Oh,
Mark
Mark,
has a
you
gripe.
had a subject you wanted to throw in there.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
that was
Yeah,
irking you,
'cause-
right?
I think Rush would be a good end to the show or the album review. Yeah. Ticketmaster's at it again. You know, last month what they did with Taylor Swift. They
No.
totally screwed up.
What did they do with Taylor Swift?
Well, first of all, you got to remember they're a monopoly, so
Yeah.
everybody goes with Ticketmaster because that's all you can go. So, evidently, with Taylor Swift was going to tour, put all her tickets on sale, and they have this thing where ticket price is set by demand, so tickets were outrageously priced, scalper prices, but the whole system crashed. Even if you had a place in line or you had a reservation, you didn't get it. They're being sued by all the fans because, you have to buy tickets through them, but the system is so screwed up. It's just bad, So honest fans that don't want to get ripped off by scalpers are being ripped off by Ticketmaster. This new system, and this is why I was going to go see Bruce Springsteen. I really had an interest in it. I went online. He's playing Madison Square Garden. Because there was so much demand, tickets were like $2,000. It's crazy, and it's not the artist's fault. The artists are forced to use them because they control the venue with Live Nation because they're together. So if you're going to play Madison Square Garden, you have no choice. You have to sell through
I believe that's
Ticketmaster.
known as collusion.
Yeah, well, that's in this right now. That's fine. Nobody cares about collusion. So, all these Taylor Swift fans, and she's got really, really loyal fans, and they're shut out. They had no choice. Like, I got online, I got a code, I got there, boom, I was out. So anyway, they did it in Mexico. I don't know if you've heard of an artist called Bad Bunny, but he is huge. He sold out Yankee Stadium in 10 minutes. The guy is huge. Last date of his tour was in Mexico City, just one date in Mexico. And the ticket sales were they said that the advance sales were a little troubled like Taylor Swift, but people got their tickets. The problem was the people that bought tickets, honestly, showed up at the venue, and we're talking thousands of people, to show their tickets, and their tickets were shown as being fake, and they would tear them up and throw them out. So when Bad Bunny came out in this huge arena to play, the arena was half full. Thousands of people didn't make it in. What makes this so heinous is that the average concert goer in Mexico City, or Mexico, that is like us, working guys, they don't make nearly as much money. So there were people that emptied out their savings accounts just to go to this show. Because this guy, like I said, he is huge. He's really big in Central America, Caribbean. He's from Puerto Rico. So he did the show. Stadium was half empty, whatever. Afterwards, the president of Mexico, he's condemning Ticketmaster, and he's demanding that the company reimburse the ticket holders. And they said they're going to do it. They're going to refund everyone that didn't get in, plus they're going to give them $20. Well, there were cases I was
Buy a
reading.
beer with that.
Yeah, and this is Mexico. Now, some people came from 600 miles away. They took time off of work. Not every job in Mexico you can get PTO. I mean, these people took time off of work to go. They're going to get $20. It's sad. It really sucks. Now, you could say, well, it's just a concert. The point is, Ticketmaster controls everything. They have no choice but to go through Ticketmaster. So there was just one story that I read that really, really got me was this Mariam Rodriguez, a veterinary student. She bought a ticket for $700 which is a lot of money for us too. I mean,
A lot of money for anyone.
Of course,
Yeah.
for one ticket.
Yep. So she came to
Preposterous.
the venue the day before the concert and camped out just so she could get in because she traveled far. So she and a friend pitched a tent on the premises of the Azteca Stadium just south of the Capitol, so they could be first in line when the doors open. Because mind you, the floor was general admission, so they wanted to get in. So when she and her friend handed their tickets to be scanned, gate agents said they were fake. After they protested and pulled up their Ticketmaster accounts on their phones to show their purchase, they were told to file a complaint directly with the company. Venue people tore up the tickets, threw them away. They didn't get any answer from Ticketmaster. Boom, they were out. That's sad. That's heartbreaking. Imagine if we
When
went to a
the
show.
venue people took the tickets and tore them up.
Well,
But
there
that's
was a
my
big
souvenir. You're taking my souvenir and you're ripping it up.
Yeah.
Yep, and when they bring it up on their phones that they had proof that they bought it, the venue wasn't taking any responsibility. But there's something else. I'll get into that. So the Mexico's consumer watchdog, known as Profeco, I think that's the name of it, they've called for Ticketmaster to reimburse. That's a little more powerful than the president. They've collected more than 1,600 refund requests so far and is preparing a lawsuit. Now, mind you, there's a lawsuit in this country from the Justice Department against Ticketmaster.
Right. Now, was our lawsuit started by our New York Congressperson AOC?
Yes, ALC, yes. And it's going to the Justice Department.
Okay.
Here's the problem.
Bust
When
up
they
that
merged-
monopoly.
When they merged with Live Nation, you've got, all right, so they control the ticket sales. Live Nation controls the venue. So this is where the artists have a problem because even small bands, this doesn't affect only the biggest bands, but small bands. So last week in the New York Times, Clyde Lawrence, he's a leader of the band Lawrence. I've never heard of him, but he wrote a little thing about why this monopoly is so bad. He's a small band, plays medium-sized venues at best, but he deals with Ticketmaster. And he says he's been frustrated by the lopsided deal and the mechanics of their live shows. Now, what he points out in the article, and I'm sure you, Lou, and Perry know this, I've never played live, so I don't know the economics, but the way the system is supposed to work is the two main players in a concert tour are the promoter and the artist, and they are aligned to trying to maximize the show's profit while providing fans with an enjoyable experience. So you got, boom, you got one side saying we're going to make a show, it's going to make money. You got the artist who wants to make fun. But with the Ticketmaster Live Nation merger, Live Nation Entertainment controls 70% of the primary ticketing and live event venues marketplace. Live Nation also bought a litany of companies across the live music ecosystem throughout the 2010s, including promoters. Promoters are now under Live Nation. So what he said, here's what the results look like from a perspective of a musician. Let's imagine we just played a sold-out show at a venue Live Nation owns and operates. Costs will have eaten into the most of the money made that evening. $30,000 for the house nut, the fixed fee the venue takes. $10,000 for marketing, even $250 for clean towels, $250. Once these costs, some of which went to Live Nation subsidiaries, are taken into account, the remainder of it is split between Live Nation and the band. The tickets were sold for $30, and the artist share of the profit ends up taking about $12 of each ticket, or 40%. But the ticket, the fan didn't pay $30 for the ticket because the fan pays probably $45 because of the fees that Live Nation puts on. The artist sees none of that. Then he makes a point. He says, and also he makes a point that when they sell T-shirts, Live Nation gets a percentage of their concession because they say, we're renting the venue to you to sell the T-shirts. But they have a good point. That venue would be fucked if they weren't there bringing in fans, right? So they don't get a cut. The point is, music business has always been dirty, but this is really bad. It's a total monopoly. It's international, and the worst part is the fans are being screwed. Something's got to happen.
Well, I would also guess that these are large venues.
Yeah.
No, this band plays small venues. They control Live Nation. If you say you go to the city and if the Ritz were still around, I'll bet you Live Nation would control it.
No, I don't think
small
so.
clubs. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because they go into the owners and they say, let us run your venue. We're going to get bands in here, and the owner's going to make money. Why aren't they,
Right.
And
Now,
it's yeah.
Are they acting as, are there no more promoters? Because, the venue owns, they own the venue. This corporation owns the venue. The bands, did they go through a promoter to get into the venue still?
There's some
That's
big
what-
music. There's some big name involved with Live Nation, like Irving Azoff or somebody like that.
I think
Is involved
Irving. I
with
think
Live
he might have
Nation.
owned. He might have been on the CFO of Ticketmaster at one point. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's in Live, but maybe he might be Perry.
Live Nation has one of those names in there. Yeah,
Yeah. It's in so many words, it's a racket. It's
Yeah.
racketeering.
Yeah,
Is really
yeah.
what it is.
And what he said that
captive
Live Nation,
audience.
Yeah.
they're leveraging its power across the concert ecosystem to increase its profits. It's all about them making the money. So now the ticket prices. That's one of the reasons why ticket prices are so high. And scalping has not gone away. So now they claim by making it, they had this bullshit claim with like the Bruce Springsteen. Well, if we make the ticket $4,000, no scalper is going to be able to resell it. So just pay us the scalper. But scalpers are still reselling those
They
tickets
do.
for like
They put them
$6,000.
online. Yep.
Yeah, it's out of control. It doesn't control every venue. So I support like here, Tarrytown Music Hall. They don't sell through Ticketmaster. In Englewood, you have the Bergen Performing Arts Center. New Jersey, NJ Pack. I don't think they go through to Ticketmaster.
No,
I'll
you get
support
them.
those
You get them
venues.
online. You print them. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll ask you this: how are the ticket prices in these independent venues?
very good.
Are they reasonable?
I saw Carl Palmer for $50.
Okay.
I saw Steve Hackett, formerly of Genesis, at Tarrytown Music Hall for, I think it was $75, but I had like 10th row.
That's still not bad. That's
great.
really Not bad.
Yeah.
These
Under
days, that's
100
reasonable.
Under $100. Yeah.
Now, granted, Steve Hackett and Carl Palmer probably couldn't get away with charging a lot of money,
True.
but if it was
At
Ticketmaster,
this
they
point.
would, and
Yeah.
people would buy the tickets and they get fleeced. So
Yeah.
the artist isn't getting the money; it's the big conglomerate
Yeah.
is getting the money.
Right. When you know,
I'm going to follow up with the Mexico City thing.
well,
and
like
see how
originally
see
you
that.
started with Taylor Swift. Yeah, granted, she's one of the biggest artists out there. So yeah, there's going to be
Yeah.
a lot of greed involved, not on her part, on the other people's part.
Yeah,
That they know they have a captive audience. Let's milk them for everything.
yeah, and try to blame the artist. You could say that, but remember, Pearl Jam tried to circumvent Ticketmaster, and it was a disaster for them.
Yeah,
They had to
well,
actually go back to Ticketmaster because they're a bunch of thugs. you
yeah,
know?
that's a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, my rant for the night. I hate Ticketmaster.
Well, how about we go into this Rush thing? Speaking of rants,
Rush.
how about we go into
Sure, and you want
the
me to
Rush
give you a
Presto
little
review? Do you have a couple of samples of their songs?
Yeah, well, let me give you a little intro on the album, just quick.
Yeah.
It's their 13th studio album, and it was their first album for Atlantic Records. They had recently left Mercury, which they were with from the beginning of their career.
Yeah.
And as many times through their career, this was a change of sound. So they had been coming out of the 80s with the keyboardy progressive sound, which I loved.
Me too.
And this album was a return to more electric guitar. It was still recorded up in Le Studio. Sorry. What is that name of that? Lou?
Les
Warren
Studio,
Heights.
the one up
Les
in the
Studio.
wilderness
Studio.
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
In
so they
Quebec.
recorded up there with Rupert Hine producing, who is a big player,
Yes, he
So
was.
that's
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Big
And it was
time.
a-
Big time
it
in
was
the
a-
80s.
Yeah. And it was a return to a more electric sound, but nothing like the 70s at all.
Right.
So you got any,
They stayed with their 80s sound. They dropped a lot of keyboards.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
This
what it
was
was.
about what, 1989?
Yeah.
Still the
yeah.
80s, right?
And ironically, I was 2 years out of high school. This was the first Rush album that I bought new on CD.
Yeah,
Before
cool.
that, it was always albums. So it was kind of special for me.
Yeah.
When I listened to it, I listened to on Spotify, and it said 2004. I listened to the 2004 remasters, so I thought it came out in 2004. And
Oh.
then when I looked at it again, I said, no, it was 89. This was in the 80s still. So it wasn't too far off Power Windows. And
Right.
Yeah.
Hold Your Fire was the next record, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe-
Well, no,
okay.
Hold Your Fire had just come out. That was their most keyboard heavy album.
Okay.
Then they left their late Mercury, and then they had like time to record this album, and they
Yeah.
didn't have a label behind them when they recorded the
No,
album.
they did not. And this
Yeah.
album was recorded relatively quick. I think it was on their own dime. But when I read this, they allotted so much time to record it. They came in under time on it. Like they recorded rather quick. But I think there's also I read interviews with Alex Lifeson. He said, like, in the previous album where he was finding it hard to get his guitar, like, where it really belonged properly in the song.
Right.
And he's a co-writer of the music. The way Rush works is that Neil Peart wrote the lyrics and Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson wrote the music. So he was in, it wasn't like he didn't write these songs, the keyboard heavy songs, but doing what he did, and he's such a great guitar player that he had to find a way to fit in. Like, well, this record, it was more like back to guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And they said that Neil Peart, unlike other sessions, he would actually start to come over to them sometimes at the end of the day and talk to them while they were recording their music. His lyrics on this album became much more personal than the last few albums. It's some of the most, in my opinion, heartfelt writing that he wrote. You know?
Yeah. When I look on Spotify, I can switch to have the lyrics when they can sync up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we want to do a sample of it, Mark?
Well, the first song is called Show Don't Tell. Do you have a sample of that one, Perry?
I have no samples of any of these songs.
Oh, okay. So hold on one second. I'd be happy to provide you with that.
Cool.
Well, provide our listeners with it, too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, trust me, I'll put some videos up to our listeners. Of course, I'm going to be prejudiced and say they're going to be my favorite songs off the album, but that's just me, you know. So the first song is called Show Don't Tell. And if anyone does what I do and turn their stereo way up because they heard this quiet thumping, they blew their speakers. So here we go. Now that's a lot different than Hold Your Fire coming in with that riff.
Classic Rush.
A snapping snare, very dry sounding compared to the last few albums.
What was the name of that song?
Show Don't Tell.
Yeah. Yep.
Key, like most of this album, I found, and I don't know if you agree with me, Lou and Perry's, that however the songs sound, Rupert Hine had some kind of effect on the chorus writing. All the choruses on this album had a similar feel.
Yes, they do.
Extremely melodic.
Well, Lou, what did you feel about that first song, Show Don't Tell?
I remember hearing that on the radio. I remember hearing some of the singles from this song. The intro, I like the fact that it's different. It starts, like you said, Mark. It starts with this kind of African tribally thing, which I think it became a hallmark of Neil Peart's latter day sound.
Yeah,
and then it kicks into a classic, jagged rhythm, sort of off time, classic Rush riff. I think it's a great lead off track.
Yep.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought it had a shitty drum sound on it, like a shitty 80s drum sound on it. I didn't like the drum sound. I know the drums are played well. On that particular track, I didn't like the way the drums were recorded.
In some of their later works, they went back and remastered the whole catalog. They didn't use Steven Wilson. But I think there were some things that they produced themselves. I think they produced this with Rupert Hine. Maybe I might be wrong. But I think some of the things that they self-produced, they went back and remastered.
Yeah.
Now, Neil Peart did say this is an album, and some of the songs that he wished he could go back and re-record. The drum sound didn't bother me. I do think it's kind of it's kind of rough in a way. That I think the album was recorded kind of rough. I mean, they were without an album deal, and this album was recorded rather quick. Not because I think they had to. I think just because they did. I think they
worked that way.
Yeah, and there's a weird. I mean, I don't have the whole Rush discography back. I think this album's kind of unique in a way that it's a bridge thing because, Rush, the prog rock of Rush, 2112 is far removed from what they did in the 80s. I think they progressed magnificently. Yeah, so this is like a transition back to their old sound.
Supposedly, yeah.
Well, it's got a thin sound, but now the album that came out after this, Roll the Bones, was also produced by Rupert Hine. Okay. And it had a thin sound. So that was Rupert Hine, too. Geddy Lee was using a Wall brand bass, WAL, which had a very... he might have been using a Steinberger. No, that was Grace Under Pressure.
Yeah.
But you don't hear much bass either.
I think you're right, Mark. I think it was a Wall bass or something, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Chain Lightning?
This was my first favorite song off the album. When I heard this, I was hooked.
It's one of my favorites. Classic Rush intro.
See, yeah, but I thought his keyboard heavy.
Goes into a great Alex line. Yeah.
Now the first thing I noticed and I wrote down about this was the cool guitar riffs on this song.
Yeah.
Classic Alex.
Really cool guitar riffs. Yep.
It sounds like the Batman theme. It's very Batman-like.
It's a little abstract. Yeah. Yep.
Tommy Tedesco could have played that, like on acid.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
So that one I gave it an up arrow. That one, that was really good. That was a good one. Yeah.
That's fun because they did use some. This record was about anti-technology. I think Geddy Lee said he was tired of computers and synths. They just want to get back to your bass, drums, and guitar with minimal digital interference. But I think they did put some. He said they did put some finishing touches on some songs after the fact. So that's like if you hear keyboard, it's a rarity.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Alex Lifeson is such an underrated guitar player. I think that's a great guitar track too.
I don't think he's that underrated, Lou. This guy's famous worldwide, man.
No,
what
he
do you
is.
think he's underrated for?
No, I think he should be higher rated. Maybe that's a different way of putting it.
Yeah.
I think he's recognized as a great guitar player, but I think he should be higher up. I mean, I don't know where he ranks up there with
he
great
should be on
hard
these
rock
like
guitar players.
lists. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love the chorus when he goes, "Sun dogs, fire on the horizon, meteor rain, stars across the night." That melody is so great on that. That is just,
You know where I first heard the term "sundogs"?
Where?
On the Deer Hunter.
Oh wow!
When, after their first night shift, the beginning of the movie, after the night shift, they come out of into the daylight, and Robert De Niro goes, "Those are sundogs."
Jeez. I wonder. I'm sure Neil picked up on that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
This third song is called "The Pass."
Well, this was really weird because they actually had a semi-hit MTV video with this. It was big, and the lyrics are extremely moving. It's about suicide.
Yep.
And
It's
just
about,
coming out of my
teen
teenage
suicide.
Yes. And I'm still a teenager when this came out, and so I was amazed that Neil Peart's talking about teen suicide too.
Yeah.
And it starts with one of the biggest, most well-known Geddy Lee bass lines. Here we go. Everyone knows that bass line.
I thought it was a so-so song.
Well, opening lyrics are proud swagger out of the schoolyard, waiting for the world's applause. Rebel without a conscience, martyr without a cause. Just means you're a teen and you think the world is there for you.
Yeah.
And doesn't always work out the way you want it to work out.
I think the song worked. I put that. This is one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah.
And
Perry, I understand what you say because sometimes you hear these songs the first time, you only listen to it for a week. They don't hit you. They're kind of boring sounding, I had trouble.
No, it's not that at all. I can easily gauge what when I listen to something, whether Jesus, does every song have to be 5 minutes long? I can gauge those kind of things.
Yeah.
Well,
I had trouble with this album when it very first came out. I was like, it sounded kind of plain to me because I'm used to the keyboards of Hold Your Fire and stuff. So I was kind of taken aback.
See, that's weird. You guys, to me, it's lush with keyboards.
no,
Yeah, I understand. I read that it was supposed to be back to guitar driven, and those kind of things. But to me, it's lush with keyboards.
As compared to the previous albums, it's spare on keyboard. It's there's a lot of songs on this album. I think I call them classic Rush songs. It's like something almost sound like this was like a weird period. I think this was like almost like a transition album where they were going into their they didn't put many records out after. I mean, their input got less and less, their output rather. But I think this was the way to get back into old Rush, and some of their latter albums were more guitar heavy. Actually, more like old Rush. In fact, the last several albums were very critically acclaimed, I think.
Yeah.
What about the song called "The War"? Is there a song called "The War Paint" or "War Paint"?
War Paint.
Yes, there was. And if my phone would stop flipping it. Some heavy drumming there.
Yeah.
Right.
I love the drums on this track, actually.
Wait. That's another song about teenagers.
Yeah. Well, that's Rush. I hear that. I'm like, yeah, that's Rush. Typical Rush.
That's funny you should say that because I wrote down this is a very Rush song.
Yeah.
There's certain songs on this album I think are very typical of Rush.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're cast-offs or throw-offs, but you know, at this point they had a new sound. You know, that 70s prog rock sound was gone. This is like them saying this is our new sound, and
I'm
we're going
glad
to
you
move
said
on.
that. Yeah, because I had this listed as a good song. Another one, shitty drum sound to me. I don't like the sound of the drums.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you feel they were too thin?
Yeah.
Thin sounding.
I just don't like the way it was recorded. To me,
Yeah.
it's so 80s or something, you know, and I was not a big fan of 80s drumming or whatever
That's
it is.
Rupert Hine. Yeah, he's a big '80s producer.
Yeah, I think they were trying to go into this 80s period. Like, you know, they had a very wonderfully slick sound previously. I think this was an attempt to go in to slide into another realm and slide into another without going out of that 80s sound.
Yeah,
you know?
yep.
But like this wasn't my favorite thing. But I love the drumming. You know, the sound is okay, but I do love the drum.
I'm not criticizing his drumming.
I know you're not.
The way it was recorded, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The production, the way it was engineered, and the whole thing. I know what you mean. I did like the song more as it went along. I didn't like it at first. I thought, okay.
I thought it was a good song. Yeah.
Yeah, but
This is.
I like the guitar sound though. I do like the guitar sound.
It's a driving song. Like when I had my portable CD player in the car and I was driving all over the world. That was these songs just flowed, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so this song Scars meant just to note when
Scars
it starts.
on 45.
When you hear Neil Peart's drum, that became part of his drum solo like later on in the years.
Yes,
this
it did.
So,
it's
wow, we can hear his bass.
Yeah,
but that might be a MIDI bass playing and not actually him.
I don't know. Could be, but he probably recorded it.
That sounds like a song that Neil Peart had a big hand in writing the music.
I would say so.
Well, I wrote it as like I like it, like electronica, nice, you know, sort of pace, and I wrote it as a good song. I gave it an arrow up, you know.
Cool. I think Geddy Lee's playing on this is amazing. That's great. He's a fantastic bass player. If you listen to this, like Neil Peart, he has a world music influence, but I don't think he's often thought of. Maybe I'm wrong. As far as like world music drum players, where he's always incorporated the African influence.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of tribal drumming on this record, tribal intros and stuff, and you know, I like his sonic palette on this drum kit. Although, if Stop Mid or send me an aerial view of his drum kit, it's hysterical. There's so much stuff. I'm like, what the? I didn't know it was a drum kit at first. Once I got close up, but there's a way he gets into it. But he used it all. He used every single symbol. There was nothing there he didn't not use. But
he didn't show off. Everything was used.
How can you not show off when you're surrounded by drums?
Yeah, but he's a drummer that can do that. You know, there's songs like if you listen, and these Rush songs, you know, there's room for everyone to do what they do. Like
he didn't stand up and you know.
Yeah, I don't think Geddy or Alex never said you're playing too much or you're playing too little.
Right. Yeah.
That worked for them, but this song at first I'm like, okay, this is okay, but I ended up really liking it. This is one of my thumbs up songs too.
Now, is the next one considered the title track?
And I got a funny story about
Presto,
that.
Right?
When Anthony was 12 years old, I was trying to get him into Rush, and we're driving around playing this album, and I'm telling him, Anthony, this album's Presto. So this song comes on, and he goes, "Is this the song Presto?" And I went, Anthony, you're good. How did you know that? And in his own way, he goes, well, the first line is, if I could wave my magic wand. It didn't even dawn on me. I'm just not that smart. Yeah. So on that note, here we go.
I had a giggle over that too.
Very melodic.
Yeah.
Old Rush.
I am made from the dust of the stars. Great line.
I thought the lyrics were just silly, like, you know, like, okay, pal. You know, like, I know you read a lot of books and all that, you know.
Hey, you're talking to a guy that worships Neil Peart's every lyric, so I'm just...
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah. You know what the songs are about. You know what his meaning is. You know, that's cool. You know,
Not always.
Not always. You know, I had the lyrics up on Spotify. I'm like, you know, like a lot of things. You have to glean things out of certain things. This to me was Old Rush meets New Rush to me.
Mm-hmm.
That acoustic intro could have been on an old Rush. This song could have been on an older Rush album.
Yeah, and it's a very positive song.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, next is Superconductor, which is I guess the hardest rocking song. It's a good one. Here we go.
It was a single too.
Well, I didn't want to go
I
too
like
far.
this one. I like this one. I had it like a rocking number. Yeah.
Yeah.
With a good pace.
It was a single,
yeah.
though? I didn't know it was a single.
There were 3 singles, I think. Show Don't Tell, The Pass, and this one were singles. This was a song I remember hearing from the album. I remember saying Superconductor. I'm like, but it's funny, like even hearing it through my headphones. I agree. The production sound is a little brittle.
That song's got a good groove.
It has a good groove. Yeah. Well, I think it's funny. And Neil Peart said he wanted to re-record this album. Nothing against the songs. I think he liked the songs.
He's not happy with it. Yeah.
Now the thing was about this album was like the previous albums. He had no lyrical. He does themes. He had no concept for the song. Each song was separate as far as lyrical content. It was just things that were on his mind.
He said he wanted to re-record the album.
I think he said
he's really like remastering it. It was not good enough. He's that unsatisfied with the outcome.
I don't know if that was before the remaster or not. That's a good question. But he did say that the song "To Pass" in particular, because of the sensitive nature of the lyrics. He goes, you know, it was the hardest song for him to write because of the nature. He didn't want to. If you listen to it, it's at the end of it. I think the kid maybe kills himself. I mean, it's a horrible subject.
I think in the video they make reference that he turned back. Something like.
Okay, well, there's positive notions in there, but like, I mean, on Spotify, the last line is, "Oh Christ, what have you done?"
Oh
you know?
shit, yeah.
It's but it's not sung. It's anyway. So
yeah.
What about Anagram?
They're a thoughtful band. He's a thoughtful lyricist.
By the way, the remaster,
I miss him.
If you play it on a big stereo with a subwoofer, they got more bass in it.
Okay.
But if you hear it in the car, the original and the remaster, you really don't hear a difference.
Okay.
You know, it's not this huge. But this and the album after, like I said, the same sound, then maybe Neil Peart wasn't happy with Hugh Padham's production. So, the next album is Anagram. And Perry, speaking of the way he writes, in Anagram, every line contains one or more words that are formed by using letters, and in other words, that's the same line. Yep. There is no safe seat at the feast, and certain lines contain anagram words. Miracles will have their claimers. I love this song.
This is my favorite song in the album.
He's the word man.
Classic intro.
By the way,
I have this listed as
great
a good
line.
pop song. Good pop song. Yeah.
I think it's my favorite. It's not the best song. It's my favorite song in the album.
Yeah.
This is the concert opener. You know, that intro just says, you know, to me, this is a summer song. This song makes me think of summer. Almost like REM's Reveal. It has that same type of keyboard intro, only prog rock.
Yeah.
But,
and I think about them recording at the studio in the summer in Canada.
Yeah, right.
Know?
Yeah.
By the way, License, what did he say about the lyrics? He said, doesn't mean anything. It was just a fun thing. Screw you, Alex.
Oh, really? Yeah.
You don't have to defend Neil Peart, man. He's, you know.
Alex
I'm joking.
Alex said this song is about having no solutions to anything. It's just like, it's just going. It's just not thinking. It's just
in his perception. You know,
Yep. Of course.
Yeah.
Alex got a great sense of humor. I mean, come on. And then
did,
next song,
did you see his acceptance speech to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Blah, 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 blah.
For 10 minutes.
That was one of the most controversial things. You finally had your chance. You know?
That is it's a total punk thing to do, too. Because I thank God, my mother, the Father, the Holy Creator, all my friends and family. Yeah,
Monty Python, blah, 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 blah.
That's, I think, what he was referencing, yeah.
Now, I even know what Red Tide is about, Mark. So don't lecture me on it. I can tell
Perry,
what it's about.
Red Tide is about when you put a red stocking over your lamp and you let the whole bedroom be full of red light.
I've been to California. I've
about.
seen the red tide. Yep.
Oh, you saw it. Then you know. Oh, here's red tide. Sounds really distorted, but I
Oh,
will
and
say,
there's a
when it goes,
really good guitar solo on there too.
Yes,
I
there
like
by
is.
the
when
way.
it goes into the verse. Really calms. That's a hallmark of Rush writing.
Yeah.
That gets
It's his
quieter
global
to the verse.
warming song, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But good guitar solo on that song too. It's a good
Yes,
song.
yeah.
That one's really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex has a way of ripping out a totally out of left field guitar solo here and there, and that's what makes him such a great player.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
And he sometimes places them where you would not think it's going to be placed. You know what I mean? Most conventional rock songs are like 2 verses, chorus, guitar solo, right? You don't get that with him. Yeah.
He also comes in on the one of the beat sometimes where it's like, oh
yeah?
He doesn't wait. Sometimes he comes in right, you know. I think this song has a great bass sound too. I think the bass sound itself is really good. You know, the amazing Getty.
Yep. It's a boot Getty.
Gary
Okay.
Gary
Next
Weinrib. That's
What
his
about
real name.
Hand Over Fist?
I'll put my hand over your fist. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I got to say, when I was younger and I heard it, I said it was almost too much that Neil Peart wrote about hand, scissors, paper, stone. I was like, come on. It was like so expected that he would write a song about that sooner or later.
I like the rhythm guitar that he's playing on there. I really like that. Yeah.
Kind of funky.
And I like how in the verses it goes to a minor key. It's kind of good arranging on that.
Now the last
All right.
one. What is it? Available Light? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
It's called Vanilla Light. Yeah, Available Light. Here we go. Ready? The serious song. Very sparse production, no guitar. Cracking snare. Very dark opening to the final song.
Yeah.
But there's nice electric guitar in there too, and there's a nice little solo piece in there too. Like not very long, maybe like 2 bars of a little thing he does in there.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good closer. I thought it was a good closer for the record.
Is that funny? I wrote the same thing. Good closer.
Yeah. Yep.
I at first I thought no, but the lyrics are good. I like the mood of the tune. I think it's a cool title. Available Light.
Yeah.
Really good lyrics too. You know.
So how would you sum it up, Lou, if you had to sum up the record, a review of the record?
Let me just say that, Lou, I just want to say you said it's a good last song. You're right, because when it fades out, you got that epic, when the winds can carry. Yeah, it's great. Anyway.
Yeah. I think I love Rush. I love them. So I think it's a really, really good record. I give it like 3.5 to 4 stars. It's not epic Rush. It's not Rush at their best. But I realized that a lot of these songs it's Rush writing Rush songs. Like this is the crystallization of their modern sound into like, they got kind of heavy after this. Mark, am I wrong? Because after this,
they did Roll the Bones, which sounded exactly the same, and even had a rap on it.
Yeah.
But then they did Counterparts, which as I'm getting, Alex got a really deep, heavy sound starting. And Neil's drum sound got very heavy too.
Okay. I think they learned some lessons from self-production after this, where they realized that, that there's a reason why they remastered the whole catalog. Well, a lot of artists do. But overall, Perry, I think it's a really good record. I like most of the songs. I mean, and my favorite song in this record, I think I mentioned it before, is Anagram. That is just classic Rush. That's a Rush doing what they know how to do.
To me, that's a good pop song.
Now that song about, to me, it sounds like this is something they could do kind of effortlessly, but I don't care. It doesn't have to be complicated, right? That intro just I'm at a concert. I'm at a concert, and it's wonderful. I just think that's. I think it's a really good record. I really enjoyed it. I would listen to it again, and I'm going to go back. Actually, I'm going to go back and re-listen because I've been doing this, like listening to the whole catalog of artists. So now it's my rush time to go back and listen because I had a lot of those early '80s records, and and I miss Neil.
Me too.
I miss Dina.
Oh,
well, for me, you want to know what I think, or you don't want to know?
I do want to know. Come on, stop it. Perry, you got to say something. I recommended this album because I knew I was going to recommend a Rush album to listen to, and I wanted to make one that had the most melodic songs. I didn't want to give you one with 18-minute songs.
Well,
I just want to make one that,
every friggin' song, like, to me, the songs are too long.
Okay.
The shortest song was 4 minutes. And I forgot which one that was. I had it written down here
short
somewhere.
for Rush.
4 minutes is like the shortest song, 4 and change. And I don't know, man. Like, the lyrics are too complicated. They're too much for me. They're just too complicated. And a couple of songs, like, they're good songs. I understand they're good songs. And I like Alex Lifeson's guitar playing. I really think that he put some really good guitar solos in and a great riff master.
Yeah.
But some of those songs had a really crappy drum sound to me. That I don't know. It's the way it was recorded. I know he's a great player, Neil Peart. I know that.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't bad.
I don't know. I just didn't do much for me. I listened to it a few times. Too much, too long. Songs are too long for me. Lyrics are too complicated for me. But that's just me. I like a little more concise, pop convention.
Trust
not a
me,
big,
I don't understand all the lyrics either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm finding, and this is really linear. I don't understand a lot of lyrics. Like, I mean, and that's not a bad thing. Like, the J. Farrar record, the same thing. Where, like, there's allusions to things. It's just what you're like,
correct,
allusions
right?
To.
But it still has melody. The record has melody.
Yeah, I do think. I think as far as lyrics, I think Neil was pretty linear on this record in a lot of ways. A lot more direct than he usually is. But that was just the way his mind worked. But I agree with I agree with the production. Like, the drums are kind of harsh sounding.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
That's the only way I can say it, is that they just, I can only describe it as shitty sounding to my ears.
So
I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm just saying.
No.
That's the way
In fact, this and Roll the Bones were probably their worst produced album besides Vapor Trails. That was their absolute worst produced, but it was very thin. And I lamented that you couldn't hear Getty. And I was driving around. I'm 2 years out of high school. I was going through a rough time. I had depression. I didn't realize it. So I was driving. I would drive 50 miles up, 50 miles back. I'd blast this thing and my ears would hurt. Now at 18, 19 years old, your ears shouldn't be hurting because it was so tinny, It's so thin, like it just sounded But the songs, to me, is what makes it. Every song on this album, for me, it's a personal thing with me.
Even if I don't know what he's talking about, it's melodic. It's still got melody,
Yeah.
But to me, the lyrics just ramble,
And the fact that I listened to a 2004 remaster, and it still could use a better sound. I didn't hear the original, so the original must.
That's why Neil Peart wanted to re-record the record. He was
I would
satisfied.
Think so.
Yeah.
And
okay,
I think,
on the one you heard, you could hear Neil's bass drum. You couldn't feel it, but you could hear it. On the original CD, which early CDs didn't sound that great anyway, you couldn't even hear his bass drum. So. Again, I think what you say is they couldn't get enough bottom end out of the recording. That's the way Rupert Hines recorded. Yeah. So that's why Neil probably wanted to re-record it.
It's interesting because Rupert Hines, if you look at his 80s, I looked up his 80s, mostly 80s production credits, and it's Rush, Tina Turner, Howard Jones, Saga, The Fix. He did a lot of The Fix's most popular stuff. Yeah. Which is
kind of
very
falls
well
into that vein. Now, funny you mentioned that. Yeah, I kind of feel
very
that
80s.
stuff. Yeah.
Also, Bob Geldof, the Thompson Twins, Stevie Nicks, Krista Berg, Don't Pay the Ferryman, Suzanne Vega, Duncan Sheik.
Wow.
He did soundtracks for the Ian Fleming biopic Goldeneye and Goodbye, Better Off Dead. So. But I think this is where maybe Rush interfered with the production too much. Maybe that's an artist that they shouldn't produce themselves. Mark, the album you mentioned that had really bad sound.
Oh, Vapor Trails.
Was that self-produced?
No, they had a producer, but the problem wasn't the recording. When they mastered it, the record label insisted on making it as loud as possible, and it actually distorted digitally. So I don't know if you ever. They actually remixed it years later, and you can see it's got a white cover versus a black cover, and they kind of improved it. But that album's very dense. It's hard to listen to. Your ears get tired after a while.
Really? Okay.
It's also the first album after Neil lost his wife and his daughter, and he was coming back. And
okay, so this was Rush Presto from 1989.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I'll put some of these songs up on the Facebook page, probably the videos.
Overall, I think it's a good Rush album. Is it moving pictures? No. But I think it's a pretty solid effort. I think it's good. There's quite a few songs I really like and one I really love. Yeah. So for me, I'm happy.
And it was an important album because it did keep them in the music listeners' realm. Like they changed just enough to stay current to a degree.
Yeah, and also at this point they had left Mercury Records, where most of their
that was conscious
discography.
You think they're like saying we have to remain cool, or they're just evolving and they don't give a shit? I mean, 2112, they didn't give a fuck what anybody thought about it. They said,
actually, Rush were always influenced by, because Neil Peart was a big Ultravox fan.
Yeah.
And they were always kind of influenced by what's around them. I mean, in the 90s or the 2000s, they did kind of, they got into a more metal sound. They always reacted to what was around them.
During the 80s, like originally, like Neil Peart was influenced by, Ginger Baker was his idol, some other drummers. But as it got into the 80s, he liked the Ultravox, and he was a big Police fan. So that, his drumming on those 80s records is very worldly. He went into that realm as well, like the world beat thing, where it affected Rush's rhythms and stuff. But I think they grew with the times, and I think they grew appropriately. And there's no contrivance; they didn't have to. I think they proved at one point that they were such a weird band, like in the 70s, like Geddy Lee's voice. Nobody would. A lot of people just embrace it.
I don't think because they were done with Mercury Records and they signed with this other company. This other company says, "Well, we got to modernize your sound." Like I don't think
no, not at all.
They just evolved where they went where they went.
Exactly. The record company didn't have to fuck with them. They said,
basically, nobody was going to fuck with them at that point. Yeah,
even if they didn't sell the level that they did with, say, Moving Pictures or Signals, whatever. Yeah. They knew that this band, they were going to make some serious money, because that's what it's about. Business is about money, art, whatever. If it's good art, we're lucky. We're lucky.
Let's just say Atlantic Records, who were big with hard rock, they signed a lot harder. They were like, we got Rush. We got one of the classic bands. They were just going to let them do what they wanted. Yeah.
Leave them alone. Let them do what they wanted. Let them do what they do.
Right. Yeah. If you're selling millions of records, I mean, that's still profit for everybody. So, whether you're, like I said, whether you're selling 10 million or 5 million, it's different. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to close out the show with your album review?
Absolutely.
Your album reveal?
Yeah, I can't. I'm having trouble counting to 10 today, so I got to make sure I only have 10 here. All right. So, first album. I don't know if you guys, of course, are familiar with a great Irish guitarist by the name of Rory Gallagher.
Sure.
So I got his band before he went solo, Taste, and this one's called On the Boards. I bought it at Music Merchant. I just picked it out of the blue when I was, a long time ago.
What's the timeline on that record?
It came out in 1970.
Wow.
Yeah.
Produced by who?
Long time ago.
Let's see. The engineer was Eddie Offord from Yes fame.
Wow.
Okay. And they don't have a producer.
That's the guy who said, I'm going to work with Yes instead of ELP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, interesting. But Taste had some really, I gotta say, tasty songs. They had some interesting songs. They weren't it wasn't blues like what Rory went into. It was bluesy, but it was different. But an Irish rock band. There weren't too many of them. Next album, Lou, you might know this. The Brecker Brothers, Back to Back.
Okay.
My brother-in-law gave this to me.
Who are they, the Horn guys?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. My brother-in-law gave it to me, and it was better than I ever thought it would be. I loved it.
I think Randy, who was the trumpet player? Was that Randy or Michael?
Oh God. Michael. I think it's Michael.
Michael is the trumpet player on Bruce Springsteen's Meeting Across the River from the Born to Run album.
Yep. This album is scary good. It's really intense, funk, and just I kind of like put it on saying I don't know, and bam, it hit me, boom, like heavy metal funk, Next one, Genesis Live. It was a single album with Peter Gabriel. Don't know why they made it a single album. They could have made a double album. It's good. It's important, but it's basically their earliest songs on one album. So you get 5 songs, but it's still good. Phil Collins plays a drum kit with like 1 or 2 drums on it. He had a very small kit at that time.
What do you mean, a 3-piece kit?
Lou, you would know that, right? His kit was tiny when he was first started with them, right?
Yeah.
He was like the drummer from the from Brian Setzer and the Stray Cats.
Basically, yeah.
Snare, bass, and standing up.
But doesn't that make you a really good drummer if you can do what you have to do with that?
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you could do more than that and still fit in, do it like Dino Danelli did. He played a lot, but he fit in those songs like a
Who the hell is
genius.
Dino Danelli?
He's some wop from New Jersey.
Oh my God, we went off the track.
I can't believe you said that.
I'm Italian, I can say that.
I
Fuck
can't believe you said that.
Perry, you're
come
Polish.
on.
You can't say it. I'm Irish. I can't say that.
Sue me. Sue
I'm
me for
actually
being
Russian.
Russian to
Next
the
up.
bathroom.
Rainbow, final vinyl, came out after they broke up, and it was basically just a bunch of live stuff from all their singers from beginning to end, but I loved it. It's got a version of Difficult to Cure with an orchestra, which is Beethoven's Ninth. Richie Blackmore thought it was crap. He didn't like any of it.
So who was the singer in Rainbow at that time?
Well, this is after Deep Purple got back together, so what it was just a compilation of stuff from Ronnie James Dio, all the singers through the years. Most of the songs were from their final gig in Japan, which had that version of Difficult to Cure, which I might just post on our Facebook page because like I said, he's got a full orchestra behind him. But
So if that was their final concert, who was the singer in the final concert?
Joey Lynn Turner.
Joe Lynn from Hackensack, New Jersey.
Yes.
Yes.
And our
What was
friend John
the big
Scaffin
regional band? The big regional band that played a lot of gigs that he was in before Rainbow. They played Seton Hall when I was there.
It's a killer. I have one of their albums.
Fandango.
Thank you. And John Scaffa kept saying he was a great guitarist. I'm like, John, he didn't play guitar. And then I look back, he was a great guitarist. Richie Blackmore he used to play guitar on stage a little bit early on in Rainbow. Richie Blackmore told him no more playing because he sensed he was really good. Good guitarist. Yeah. So is that one? I just picked it out. I'm not crazy about the album, but Wings Over America, 3-record set.
Yeah, that's a big live record. Yeah.
That's good. It's good.
It's a good album. It's the production. It sounds like it doesn't sound like you're at a concert. When I hear a live album, I want to think I'm at the show, and it sounds like they re-recorded.
Maybe they touch it up in the studio, but they do a good version of Simon and Garfunkel, Richard Corey on there.
Yes, they did.
Right?
Yeah.
Was that produced by Paul? Was that engineered, or what was the credit?
Produced by Paul McCartney. Yep.
Okay.
And
they did a nice version of Bluebird on that record. I seem to remember too. Yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah,
that's a great song.
This is actually a classic '70s live album. You get 3 records. Just sitting back. Yeah, it's good.
I think the live version of Maybe I'm Amazed is better than the studio version.
I agree.
Yeah, that was a big record, Wings Over America. It was a big live album, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the tour where Paul
Wings,
put on
baby.
a jacket very similar to Jimmy Page. You ever remember that? Like he had that black jacket that looked a lot like Page's.
Now, the Wings, that was the tour after the Wings at the Speed of Sound studio album.
Was it? Okay.
That had, Who's That Knocking at the Door? Let him in.
Let him in.
Silly love songs.
I like that song.
Yeah. Like that
guy.
rollicking bass line on that song, too.
But that album had different singers where McCartney was under some criticism for saying Wings was a real band, but anything with McCartney is not a real band because he was, he dictated a lot. So he let the other people sing a lot of leads on that album.
He had to let Denny Lane do Go Now, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Denny Lane sang a McCartney original on that. So did Joe English sang a song called Must Do Something About It.
Yep.
So it showed you that these other people had really good voices, but Paul made it seem like Wings was a band for one album, but it was never like a democratic band.
Yep.
In fact, on the song "My Love," I heard "My Love" the other day. John Lennon, I think, considered that one of Paul's really saccharine, sappy songs. The guitar solo is beautiful. It's a beautiful guitar solo, and that was one thing where I think Paul let. I don't know if it was
Jimmy
Henry
McCulloch?
Spinoza or Henry McCulloch said, "Do it." I think the producer said, "Let him do it." He did it. It was a beautiful guitar solo. Maybe
I thought it
one
was Jimmy
take.
McCulloch, the guitar player.
I don't know if that was Jimmy McCulloch doing that solo. I'm not sure.
Well, anyway,
Maybe-
I know what you mean. That's a nice guitar solo. Yeah.
It really the tone, the phrasing, it's really quite beautiful, But that was one case where Paul let go of the control freak tendencies.
Funny. My Love has a kind of a funny story. My oldest sister hung out with. She was the music head of our family, and she hung out with people that were serious music fans. So I'm like 10 years old, maybe younger, and I'm with her at one of her friends' houses, and MTV was new, so I must have been 11 or 12. And they're playing MTV, and there was a guy there that was picking on Paul McCartney, saying, the Wings, fuck them. Man. And then the video came on for My Love, and I remember the guy went, I can't take this. And he had a bong, and he threw the bong. He didn't throw the bong, he just shook it, and the water went all over the TV. Fuck Paul McCartney. He was going nuts. I'm like, I liked it, and I was only 11 years old.
Come on, I mean.
See the shit I saw when I was growing up?
I think a lot of things, those are stances you take. I mean, if you look at the discography or there's a Wilco book Perry sent me, and there's this 2 pages where they posted all their influences on. There's like Jethro Tull up there. There's all these bands you never thought that Jeff Tweedy or whomever would like. And, it's all part of this thing. Like, I mean, I have no compunction against liking BOC or ELO or, as years go by, I'm less and less. I think Jethro Tull are kind of a weird band.
That's what I like about it.
I still think that they belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the Rascals go, the Rascals were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Eddie Brigati and Felix Cavallari were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, which they duly belong to, because those are some beautiful songs. Eddie Brigati wrote the lyrics. Felix mostly wrote the music and some lyrics, but they were just so indicative of the times and timeless.
Yep.
Timepiece should be called Timeless, and they should add "People Got to Be Free" on it, because that is just one of the best songs ever. And the song it's a song about freedom and people getting along. Will that ever get old, or the thought of that ever getting old?
Yep. Even though some people may hate those lyrics.
Fuck 'em.
And I still say My Love is good. My Love is Good did not deserve to have bong water thrown at the TV.
No, I don't think so either.
Jack Bruce, Songs for a Tailor. I like this album. Jack Bruce's solo stuff is a bit of a hard nut to crack if you don't know him, but I really like this album. He kept a trio format on all the songs. Felix Pappalardi was on it. And Chris Spedding, I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
I've heard that name many times on records.
He's on every song. Yeah. But very good album. But I wouldn't say to somebody, "Hey, I'm going to play this. You got to hear this," because his voice is very unique, and everything. But I love Jack, and I miss him. I miss that guy.
A great singer.
Yeah,
amazing bass player.
Underwhelming. He did that album with he did a couple albums with Robin Trower. And it should have been better than it was. It was good, but it could have been better.
I think that was BLT.
BLT, yeah.
They needed more mayo on that. Maybe
we got to start doing this now. BLT.
That's been our ever-going thing of our rock supergroups.
Oh God, I'm going to get a text from Tom tomorrow. No more BLT. No more BLT, Miles. All right.
You can't get BLT.
One of the classic live albums. One More from the Road, Leonard Skinner. I like this album.
Fucking right, yeah.
Yeah. This was when they were the best.
I like
That's
Skinner.
the original lineup. That's the original lineup.
Actually, no.
No.
They had, what's his name? Ed King was out by then.
He was out. Steve Gaines.
No, but I mean,
this
is before the crash.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I really was asking. Yeah.
I believe it's Artemis Pyle on drums. But
yes.
I think Ed King was out. Is Steve Gaines on that record?
I'll give you the whole lineup.
It's Rossington and Collins on guitars.
Ronnie Van Zant, Alan Collins, Gary Rossington, Billy Powell, Leon Wilkinson, Artemis Pyle, and Steve Gaines. Steve
Okay.
Gaines is his first tour, I think. He was new in the
okay.
band.
He was the like 19-year-old guitar player or something, right?
And then I don't know if you could see it, but that's the picture of Artemis clutching
Yes.
all the drumsticks.
That's right. That's right. Steve Gaines was the breath of fresh air in that last tour, in that last record. Where you got that right. He's the guy singing with Ronnie. And he's got a solo song in there. I forgot the name of it, but it was a Steve Gaines song, and he sings the lead on it. And the fact that a guy like Van Zandt let him shine on that last record says a lot about Ronnie Van Zandt. Saying he knew he was smart. He knew a good band when he had it. He knew to let
He was
people.
going to revitalize the band. He was going to give them
Ronnie Van Zandt, he said, he goes, "We're going to be living in this guy's shadow one day."
Yeah.
So for someone of that presence and ego, that says a lot about, being in bands. And that's the thing about, I want to say about Dino Danelli too, like in rapping, a lot of band leaders would say, "Hey, tone your shit down," But Dino, he was a showman. He no one says, "Don't stand up when you play the drums." The guy was unstoppable. But like the Rascals, it fit. Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
Whether he was shining or not, or like being a ham, doesn't matter. It fit. Nobody was better than the other. It was a seamless unit. Yeah. And similar with Skinner, they were, I think, just a great kick-ass rock and roll band. I mean,
yeah, they were.
Southern rock.
I always considered them. They were almost like Southern rock's version of Cream, because they were influenced by Cream, and they did a great version of Crossroads on this album.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Great, and nothing else. Great players. I mean, music is about playing. It's about the music. It's whatever their beliefs are. But they were.
Well, at that time,
Artemis Pyle was a great drummer.
Yeah, and at that time, it wasn't so much what they are now. It was a different band.
Oh my god!
One thing I always, as a kid,
God
liked.
and guns.
I don't know if you can see the cover, but you got the two guitar players facing, because one was lefty, one was righty, and there's Ronnie holding his arms up between the two of them. And it's like they're warring on solos, and he's holding his arms up between the two of them. I always imagine that was during Freebird. I don't know, but
that's what a photograph can suggest. That's why they have photographers take, professionals doing this. It suggests something. Yeah.
Our friend Jim Bogart saw Skinner in I think it was one of their last tours, and he goes, it was one of those shows where you should have got your money back. Van Zandt was like drinking Jack Daniels, like really drinking, not like David Lee Roth. Drinking iced tea. He was drinking Jack Daniels. It was just like, it was over. It was a shambles of a show, unfortunately.
That's a shame.
But if you see the documentaries, they were hard partying, they were brawling, and there was violence within the band. But rock and roll.
Yep. Exactly.
It's got to have some dirt under his fingernails.
What's next, Mark?
Two of the last three involved our holiday coming up. So Queen put out, which Perry, another vinyl thing, was 12-inch 45 RPM, which is really good because you could put so much vinyl. But it's Queen. Thank God it's Christmas. I bought this when it came out. It's like, wow, Queen do it. It's okay, but still, it's a collector's item.
It's Christmas.
And but I like the idea that they can maximize the volume on it. So if you put this album on and turn your volume, and then you put on like a regular 33 1/3, it would be so much lower. Well, that size, 45 RPM. Good shit. And I bought it at Music Merchant on import for $10 back in the early 90s. So I blew my money on that.
So if it's an import, what record label is it on?
EMI. Yeah. So, and then the next one is, I have an affinity to this album. It's the very first one because they put out way too many of them. The very special Christmas albums. This one had a good lineup of songs. It had U2, Christmas Baby Please Come Home. It had Run DMC, Christmas in Hollis. Bryan Adams, Run Run Rudolph. Stevie Nicks, Silent Night, which sends shivers up my spine. John Cougar Mellencamp, I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus with the fiddle player. Okay. Great. And The Pretenders, Have Yourself a Very Merry Little Christmas. That's
I like that
version.
Yeah.
The rest of them,
Bryan Adams has one of the worst Christmas songs. I forgot the title. I heard it. It's so. If I can think of it before Christmas or next Sunday, I'll bring it up. It's so bad. It's terrible.
He was fine with Run Run Rudolph. That's fine.
Yeah. This is one of the worst things I've ever heard. Christmas or otherwise.
Yep. And the last album, the album when the hatred was started to fester with the band, when Richie was getting tired of Ian after the great Perfect Strangers album. They put out The House of Blue Light, which, of course, as you probably know, is a reference to Little Richard, The House of Blue Light. I like this album. To me, it was a worthy follow-up, but they were starting to hate each other when they did this album. It sounds a lot like Perfect Strangers, same kind of stuff. They couldn't finish the tour on this. I think this was the one where Richie broke his finger. I think I got a ticket to see him. And all as well because he hated Ian.
He broke it in a hissy fit, probably. So
No, get this one. This is going to hurt. During space trucking, when he's doing this whole thing, he threw the Stratocaster up in the air. It went back towards the amp, and he caught it, and it smashed his finger against the amp. And
he blamed his roadie, of course, because it's the roadie's fault.
Oh, you know the roadie got fired. Threw water at him. Right?
They whacked him.
That's it for me.
Very cool.
Well, it was a good show, right?
Yeah, it was an excellent show. Always is with you guys.
Yeah,
It was fun.
This is my Sunday night.
So we are available on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Overcast. We're available on Mark Smith and his Facebook page, and Luke Colicchio and his Facebook page. And,
I don't know.
And occasionally on YouTube. I don't know about this episode, but we shall see.
We're gonna make it on YouTube, Spotify.
We shall see. YouTube.
We're gonna make it.
Spotify. Yep.
We're on Pod People.
We're Pod People. Yeah, we're out there, man.
Mars too. We're on Mars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's right.
And Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Happy Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Happy New Year. If we don't hear from you, if we don't see you. And
so Sunday is Christmas.
We're going to be off next week.
Are we taking a week off?
Hey, Perry.
Hey, what?
Did you recommend an album to us?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here, I recommend an album to listen to.
Okay. We got 2 weeks to listen to it.
Ooh, okay. All right.
It's the only record they ever made. 1974.
74?
FAW, 1974.
It's a demo they made for Mick.
No, it's not a demo. It's a record. They recorded at freaking Sound City. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't going to play Sound City. Yeah. Na. So we're not doing a Christmas show. We're not doing an early Christmas show. We're taking a week off.
I don't know. Yep.
I don't think we can do Christmas, or if we do an early show, you guys will see it up on YouTube. We'll work that out. And
we'll talk.
If no one's too hungover, we might do a New Year's show. Who knows?
Who knows, man?
I'm off the next day, so we could do one of those marathons, 4 hours.
No, I'm not up for that, dude.
You gotta go to the
pushing
bathroom.
2.5 hours now, man.
We can't seem to not do 2.5 hours, can we?
I don't know.
We're a bunch of blabbermouths.
Blatherskites.
Blah, 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 blah.
Bunch of
Speaking of not making it, hold on.
Good evening.
I think Mark should redo his guitar parts on this. What do you think, Barry?
No. Ow! I don't even know what tuning my guitar was in for this
That's funny.
song.
That's funny. I like it. I like it.
Good night, everyone. See you soon.
Happy holidays.
Happy holy days. Merry Christ
Yes.
Mass.
Blessed days. Blessed days.
Blessed days.
Peace to you and yours.
And
You
hello,
and
Scott
your-
McLean, Jack Calabrese. Mark just went Jack Calabrese on him. Anyway,
He did.
yeah.
But apparently today is Scott McLean's birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Scott McLean.
No
Happy
crates and
birthday to
turntables.
you. I'm sure you'll be hearing from Lou and Mark in the near future.
Love to. Where's Schmitty?
Happy birthday to you in Boca Raton.
Happy birthday to you,
To
Scott
you.
McLean. You crazy podcast guy.
We're going to sign off any moment now. Why'd you do that? Where were you? Good night.
I hear footsteps.